homes and I'll never give up. Call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leap.
Here.
Commissioner Velarde.
Yep.
Vice Chair Long.
Here.
President Gannett.
Here.
Commissioner Kepler.
Here.
All in attendance.
Thank you. We had an executive session held on February 19th and just prior to this meeting to discuss litigation and personnel. Public comment. Our policy has changed. Changed it a little while ago. For public comment at the beginning of a meeting, you'll be permitted 3 minutes on agenda and non-agenda items only, and on action items. Only Pocono Township residents, stakeholders, and local businesses may speak at the podium and be permitted 1 minute for your comments on the agenda item. Is there any public comment? Cheryl?
Hi, Cheryl Parks, been a taxpayer for 39 years. Update on our blasting situation. Last Thursday, I was drinking my coffee and a truck pulls up into my driveway and a guy gets out and he's got a little box and he goes to the back of the property and he's walking up my property, and I went out and asked him what he was doing. And he said he had a seismograph and he was going to measure the blast. And I said, well, nobody called me and asked me. And he started giving me kind of a hard time. And then he said, is this 160 Ruby Lane? And I said, no. And he was on the wrong property. He was supposed to be up at George Barowdy's, up 2 houses up. And they blasted within like a half hour. And this could just be a coincidence, but that was like the 8th blast that we've had. And the blast was half of what they've been. It was half the duration and it was half the strength. It was the least. I've been there for every blast. It was half. So I don't know how that works. Finally today, I finally got a call from Heath. Their phones haven't been working for like a month or something, he said. I couldn't file a complaint because I have to wait for their phones to be working. So hopefully somebody's going to get back to me. They blasted today and the blasts were right back up to where they were. The whole house shook again. My windows shake. So, I mean, I have no deck left on my house now. So I'm waiting to see if I can get somebody to get up on my roof and see what the deal is with that. So that's all I have here. I don't understand why. I know you guys didn't do it, but why they didn't have to leave some trees as a buffer. Every time somebody comes in here to do a project, they have to have trees, they have to have shrubs, they have to have all this stuff. And nobody left any trees behind the poor people at Kevin's Way. There's no trees bordering the power lines. The whole thing, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be very good neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lauren Peterson. I'm the Executive Director at Safe Monroe, formerly Women's Resources of Monroe County. And I'm here to make comment on the proposed ordinance regarding the police service cost recovery, specifically as it pertains to domestic violence victims and domestic abuse. The draft language includes an exception for, quote, spousal abuse and child abuse. And I appreciate the recognition that victims should not be penalized for utilizing the 911 system. However, domestic violence is far more complex than the term spousal abuse suggests. Domestic violence does not only occur between spouses. It includes dating partners, former partners, people who share a child, household members, life partners, and individuals in non-marital relationships. Beyond the definitions, we must also consider the dynamics of abuse. Domestic violence is patterned and often escalates. Increased calls are often a sign for help, of rising danger, and not a misuse of services. If victims believe that calling for help could result in financial penalties for themselves or their household, they simply won't call. Cost recovery ordinances can unintentionally silence victims. On a spreadsheet, multiple calls to one address may appear costly, but in real life, they are an actual call for life-saving help. Our community has worked very hard to encourage victims to seek help and trust law enforcement, and policies that create even the perception of punishment for calling 911 can undo this progress. If the township moves forward with this ordinance, I strongly encourage you to do the following: is to broaden and strengthen the exemption language to reflect all forms of domestic abuse and violence, a suggestion using interpersonal violence, which captures all of the multiple facets of abuse, and ensure that any ordinance complies with the PA Statute 53, Section 304, which was passed in 2015, which prohibits municipalities from enacting ordinances that punish tenants, residents, or landlords for contacting law enforcement in response to abuse, of which I have a copy tonight if you would like one, as well as consult with Safe Monroe as the local domestic and sexual abuse experts when drafting the final language. Public safety should be for everyone, especially those in danger. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And we will take a copy of whatever you have for us. Any other public comment? Come on.
Hello, I have some questions, maybe not comments. I read
Could you tell
about,
us your name, please?
my name is Patrice Lanucci. I live in Pocono Laurel Lake in Bartonsville, and I read in the zoning of Votech Road that the Monroe County Vocational School may want to change the zoning from 1 to 2. And we have an extremely bad erosion and water, wildlife, and all that problem there already existing. And I believe there's 48 plus acre lots that they're considering changing the zoning on. And I would like to already express JoJo Road, which connects to the road that the houses of Votech are already on. I just don't know why they would want to change the zoning. Because then you could put, if you could clarify what zoning 2 would be in comparison to zoning 1, then maybe, I mean, we could see straight through our whole neighborhood. There's no more woods or wildlife. You know, there's tons of wildlife in our yards. So I don't think it's a good idea. And the Historical Society, I also, at the end of Bartonsville, we already lost the Tannersville Inn. I'd like not to lose Millie Alliger's property to, and Wawa is going on the other side. Maybe you could preserve the building because it's one of the oldest in the Poconos. The Poconos is a unique environmental microcosm in the United States. So it's more than just gambling, shopping, and sidewalks. So if anyone could clarify some of those issues for me, education is always best. And then maybe you wouldn't fear growth. That's all I have.
Thank you.
At the moment.
I don't know if we've spoken. My name is Paul Morgan. I work for the zoning office. If you'd like, I can, after the meeting, or if you'd like to schedule a date and time, we can kind of go over the differences between the R1 and R2 zoning district, kind of outline what would be the new uses that would be permitted if that did change, perhaps.
But my whole thing is, we have an existing issue and problem. Would it be voted on today? If they're gonna change it?
I don't believe so, no.
No, this will be at a public hearing next week on the 16th or
2 weeks.
next week.
2 weeks from now.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody online? No. Okay, we'll proceed. We have a presentation from PFM.
You guys have copies of the presentation or you do? Okay. Cool. All right, great. Thank you. Ben Kappenstein from PFM Financial Advisors. Here tonight to talk about a sewer rate study that was just completed. So going to go through a quick presentation here, but I'm going to make sure we answer your questions. So please feel free to stop me or ask questions at the end. So if we start here, just kind of introducing the analysis. So we were engaged to look at a sewer rate study, just to kind of get a look at the sewer system, how it's operating financially, and then take a specific look at rates. So what we did is we modeled and projected the sewer financials. We projected those rates, and now we're here tonight to help you all understand the effect of what we see the future looking like. So our approach, we've gone through a bunch of analysis with the township administration, looking at different scenarios, different potential future happenings, and we've kind of landed on this, what we call our final plan and report. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about here tonight. So page 4 is what I call the executive summary. So this is kind of giving you the information up front. I'll just go through it here starting on the left. So I think you all probably know better than me, but you own and operate a sewage collection and conveyance system. Treatment is handled by the Broadhead Creek Regional Authority. Your sewer fund has a really strong cash balance currently, about 580 days cash on hand, which is a very strong cash balance. I think everybody's kind of aware of that, and that's, attributed to you guys building that financially over time. I know that's been a goal and been long in the works here. Along with that strong cash balance, there's also a pretty good surplus budgeted for 2026 of $580,000. And that budget also has about $900,000 of capital spending in it. So short story is it's a pretty good financially sound system currently. And I think you'll see how that helps here in the future. There is debt tied to the system, about $7.8 million. It pays off in 2035. The current debt service this year is 1.1 million. There's a strong debt service coverage ratio, which is another good financial sign of 2.3 times. One of the drivers, I think, of looking at the sewer rates is there's a new Penvest loan expected. It's currently estimated in the amount of $8 million. I think the projects as a whole are about 11 million. 3 million is going to be used in cash, an $8 million Penvest loan. So that is included in these projections, that loan, as well as other future capital that we'll talk about. As I think everybody also knows, there's some large users of this system, which makes it unique to other systems. So there's 3 large users, which does present some risk. And we'll talk about at the end how we stress tested that risk to see what if one of those big customers would leave the system and what effect that would have. Also, significant customer growth expected in the near term, and we'll put that in a graph here in a minute, but providing another meaningful boost to the sewer fund. So some of the assumptions, your rate structure is a monthly flat rate. There's a handful of customers, I think it's 56 that are called low users, and they pay half of the regular rate. In our model, we assumed inflation. Things get costlier every year. So we're assuming inflation at 3% for operating expenses. We assume the growth there. So 1,400 new EDUs added through 2036, which is our projection period. And that represents 35% total growth of system customers, which is a lot. So it's good news, a lot of growth on the way. The system, just like any other utility system, needs capital. And, these utilities, sewer is very capital intensive. $23 million is expected to be spent through 2036. And that is included in these projections that you're going to see here. What we're going to show you is 2 scenarios. So the first one is funding all of that capital on a cash basis, meaning just paying cash, not borrowing for anything. And that's one way to do it. And then the other one is to finance some of the larger capital spend. There's a couple years where there's large spending. And for scenario 2, we assume that's done via a Penvest loan as opposed to cash financing.
Can I just?
Please.
Both scenarios have financing though, right? One just has more financing than the other.
Yeah, they both have the $8 million. Good. Yes. Good point of clarification. They both have the $8 million. And then the other one, 2 has a further financing. Good point. Yes. So based on everything we've looked at, and we're going to show you the backup for all this, we think there's an opportunity to decrease sewer rates, which is kind of a unique thing and not done all the time. I do a lot of these studies all over the place. And there's only been a handful or less than a handful of people that have lowered sewer rates. So when we do it, we want to make sure that you do it cautiously. The worst thing that can happen is you lower the rates, and in a couple of years you have to raise the rates, right? And everybody says, "Well, why'd you lower it 2 years ago? We're just, going the other way." So we took a hard look at this and made sure that it's financially feasible. And I think the township has decided to do a good thing, which is instead of doing it all at once, to kind of do it in steps. So one step down, and then in a couple of years, another step down. What that does, it gives you the opportunity to see how things play out after the first rate decrease, make sure all this customer growth actually comes in the next couple of years. And as long as it does, there'll be the opportunity to decrease even further. We'll take a look at what those decreases are here in a second. We also took a look at your rates compared to the local market. Right now, they're above the average, but below the maximum. However, after instituting these rate decreases, should you choose to do so, it gets much nearer to the average of the group. So on the next page there is kind of illustrating that customer growth that we just talked about. You can see 2027 is a pretty standout year for customer growth, about 1,000 new customers coming online. Along with those customers, they pay sewer rates, so that helps, but they also pay availability fees, tapping fees. So $3.7 million is expected in 2027, which significantly helps the fund balance in the sewer fund.
Just quickly, 1,000 new users or 1,000 additional EDUs?
Good question. 1,000 new EDUs.
Okay.
Yes, is what we have modeled currently.
And what I see here is this only takes into account, new construction in 2027, new tapping fees, nothing for the remainder of the year, which I don't know if that's necessarily true for Pocono Township. We have a lot of building going on, but maybe Jared can answer.
Yeah, this has taken into consideration all current and future approved land development.
But we don't expect any land development between 2028 and 2036.
We do. They're just minimum compared to everything that's going to come on in 2026.
Okay. Not sure I agree with that, but okay. Thank you.
Yep. Next page here, we'll talk about the 2026 Penvest loan. So this is the loan that's in both of the scenarios, as you pointed out. This one is financing mostly expansion projects, and the actual projects of what it's financing are listed below there in that graph. This loan right now is estimated to add about $457,000 of annual debt service over 20 years. It's a Penvest loan, so the rates are really good. But that's the annual debt service that will get added on and is included in both of these models.
Do we have what the annual income from this new would provide?
What's that?
Do we know what the annual income of all this new stuff would provide?
That's included in the analysis. That's all included in these numbers that you're going to see here.
You'll see it later on
Further.
the slides.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Page 7 is your current rates. So we talked about it's a flat rate. So you have 3,982 regular EDUs that are paying the full monthly rate of $82.50 per month. And then there's those 56 low use EDUs that are paying half of that at $41.25. Next up is the budget. So as I stated, the budget has a surplus budgeted, which is great and not usually the case. So there's a $580,000 surplus budgeted. And at the end of the year, you're expected to have $5.4 million on hand in cash. And that represents 580 days cash on hand. The next page shows you what that means. It kind of puts it in context. So
I just have a
Yes,
question on
sure.
on the front. I went back and I tried to tie this into our budget. I got the revenue part. But we have a beginning balance, which I don't see on this page, but we do have an ending balance. And I think our projection was we were like going to end with 7 million, and you only have 5 million here. So I'm just wondering what happened to the other 2 million.
The figures we got had the 5 million, but we can go back and look at that. That would be great if we could add another 2 million, which would make things even better here.
Yep.
We did one thing to do. We did add both of the funds. I forget the names, but there's two funds.
Construction and
Yeah, they're both included,
Yep.
but maybe it was a timing issue or something, so we can look into that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So page 9, putting it into context, what does 580 days cash on hand mean? So you've probably heard of Moody's rating service. They rate for bond issues when you go out into the market. We're just using it here as context. They give you a scale and they say that the highest liquidity score that you can get is 250 days, and that puts you in the AAA liquidity category. You guys are obviously more than double that. So again, just showing you what the balance means in terms of days cash. It's very strong. So very strong cash balance. If it's 7 million, it would be a lot stronger. Page 10 is the sewer revenues. So pretty normal revenue breakout here. User fees represent about 82% of the revenues that come in. Tapping fees are 15%, and that's pretty significant here. Not always the case, but that growth is bringing in those tapping fees. And then some other revenues dribble out there at 3%. That's the revenues. And then you look at expenses. So where does a customer's dollar go? So currently just about half of it goes to operating expenses. 22% of it is cash funded capital being invested back into the system, which is great. And 27% of it is currently being used for debt service.
I came up with some different percentages, but this doesn't, I'm not sure what you divided by what when you came up with these numbers.
I just took that budget and divided it out into that. But yeah, we can trade notes and try to get it to the right to
Sure.
look at your stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the scenarios. So on page 12, again, we're looking, both of these are going to do step down rate decreases. So it's the same rate decreases for both scenarios. The only difference is that in the blue, all the capital going forward after the 2026 loan is cash funded. And in the second one, 2029 and 2030 is assumed to be a Penvest loan instead of cash funding. The next page kind of shows you why that is and why we took that route. The first graph up at the top shows scenario 1. So this is the cash funding, and you can see I highlighted there in that box, 29 and 30 are 2 high spending years in the capital plan. So about $7.5 million between the two of them. You can use that in cash and spend it. We'll see what that does in the next couple slides here. Or you could finance that up front in 2029 in scenario 2 there. And that'll spread the cost a little bit more, as you're going to see illustrated here in a second. So that's kind of the two options that we're looking at capital wise. Next page shows the step down rate decrease plan for both of these scenarios. So the plan as it currently sits would be to do a 5% decrease in 2027. That's the first step. Take a couple years, again, make sure that customer growth comes in, and then do another 5% decrease in 2030. And obviously, if things got better, once you get out to 2030, maybe it's a 7% decrease, maybe it's a 10% decrease. The beauty of doing it in 2 steps is that you can kind of manage that later and see how things go. So then page 15, what does that mean in dollars? So the flat rate is currently $82.50. In 2027, it would go down to $78. And then 2030, it would go down to $74. The people that are paying half, we assumed that they would go down to half of whatever this new number is. So the same proportion. Page 16 shows you the projected annual surpluses and deficits under both of the scenarios. And this is where it's kind of illustrated what I was talking about with the capital. So if you look at the top chart there in the blue, you can see in 29 and 30, there's 2 really bad years. That's the years that the high capital spend happens. So it's not necessarily bad. It's just that you're spending a lot of capital in those years. And if you spend it in cash, you can see how it kind of drains it. Whereas in scenario 2, if you spread it out over time and borrow for it, it's a much smoother path, surplus and deficit wise. You don't have those big deficits that are eating into your cash balance. So there's not a right answer here. It's just 2 different scenarios. Some people like to use all cash for their capital. Some people like to borrow for it. We like to show you options so you can make a good decision.
Do you know what the interest rate is on the borrowing?
Yeah, I use the same Penvest rates that you're currently getting. So I think it's in the 1 to 2% range. It changes after 5 years. I can get you the exact rates. I think it's 1.7.
It's 1.5 years, 1 through 5, and then 1.7 for the future years.
And what are we earning on our savings?
Should
Each
be
account's different. I'd have. to
should be in the
look
3.5, I would think,
Yeah.
at least.
around
usually
there,
get better, so we're
3.7
probably
with
more.
certain Pliget accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really good interest rates, obviously, and that's another reason if you could get a Penvest loan for it, which likely could. We don't know what Penvest will look like at that time, but anytime you can get that money, that's good. Okay, so then page 17 so that was the surplus deficit. Now the actual balance, the fund balance. So again, we have it right now at 5.4. That might change. But if you look at that orange line, if you borrow, you kind of have a straight line up there and you don't really have a big decrease because you're not digging into that cash to pay for that capital. In the blue, where you do dig in, you get down to a low balance of 1.7 million before then rebuilding. So they both rebuild to fine levels. But the other one, scenario 2, just kind of keeps going higher as opposed to dipping and having that cash come out. Page 18 is going to basically show you the same story, but in days cash on hand. So again, you're at 580 currently. You would dip down to 159 if you did the cash funding option, and then build back to 647 days cash by the end of our projection period. And if you did the borrowing scenario, you'd be a little bit over 1,000 days cash on hand at the end of this. Both of these, even with the rate decreases, which is pretty great. Page 19 is pretty simple, just another way to look at the rates. The step down, so 27, again, you step down to $78, and 2030, you step down to $74. So that's kind of the scenarios. And next is the comparison of your bill to other local providers. So what we did here is if you look at this chart on the right, there's an orange bar that's Pocono Township current rates, $990 a year. So this is annual. You can see there, you're on the higher side of rates currently. But what we did was we took it after the decreases. Where would that put you? And that's that orange on the left, which is 888. Much more reasonable, much closer to the norm of the sample group. The next couple pages are just details, so we'll skip over that for a second. We do have one more thing to look at, though, the stress test scenario. So we were asked again to look at what happens if one of these large users leaves the system. How catastrophic could it be? So right now we're assuming this is scenario 2, the borrowing scenario only. The blue line there shows what happens if a large user leaves the system. So we assumed it was 1,000 EDUs. That's not perfect, I'm sure, but it's a large number of EDUs leaving the system. Instead of being at that $1,000 days cash on hand that we just talked about, you'd be at 481 days cash on hand. Still in a fine place. Obviously much worse than you would be otherwise, but not catastrophic. So that's pretty much the presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
I have a question. So did you look at the possibility of getting rid of tapping fees and mandatory hookups so we could expand more aggressively and pick up more EDUs? I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me to be cutting rates when we could be using that money to expand the system to more users. It seems like our expansion is aiming for, the big guys. We're picking up, I'm guessing one big property. I think it's Camelback where we're expanding up to. Are we going to be trying to pick up residential properties too? Because I would rather see us, get rid of the tapping fees, get rid of the mandatory hookup, or at least bring the tapping fee down so that we can expand.
Good question. No, that was not part of the analysis. Looking at getting rid or lowering the tapping fee could be, but the tapping fee was run at the current levels in this presentation.
Okay.
I had a question which you said we'd come to, but I don't think we came to it. We know what the debt is, but what's the new income generated from the expansion?
I don't think I have that broken out in here. It is in the numbers, but I'll get that to you, the breakout. So you're looking for the customer user fees that are coming off of the new development as well as the tapping fees?
Right.
Yeah, okay, we can break that out for you.
As part of our analysis, we're just looking at this now, right? We're not making any decision tonight. Yeah, I'd like to see an analysis of the interest that it's going to cost us versus the interest that we're going to earn if we don't use the money to see. I mean, right now, I think borrowing, we'll still be making money, but I don't know how that would pan out.
So between the three different accounts, it's anywhere from 3.5 to 3.73 in interest.
No, I thought we were
Like-
getting 4 something. Okay.
Yeah, and any other scenarios or things that you want to look at, we have the model set up now, so we're happy to run different stuff and look at
I would just like you to take a look at our fund balance again, what we thought we'd start with and what we're thinking we'll end with. Because I think it's different than what you have.
you have it
here.
higher. You have it higher. Yeah, we'll definitely
So
reconcile
what you
that.
had looked at was the sewer general operating fund versus the sewer construction and general merged together. So that's where the 5.3 comes from, just based on the operating fund, because there are restrictions on what you can do with tap-in fees, construction fees.
Okay. So we'll make sure we reconcile that to make sure that we're using the right number. We definitely don't want to use a restricted number, but if there's stuff we're missing in here, we'll definitely get it in.
Well, what we have 2 million in capital, and that's what we're basically spending in capital. So I think we can use it. Yeah.
You should be able to use tapping fees for capital. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
I mean, I just have a question for Jared. Was this paid for by the township and prepared for the township specifically?
Yes, this was approved by the Board of Commissioners to go out to have PFM prepare the study.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a hearing on our Environmental Advisory Council. Make a motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Leo, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ellen. As the board is aware, the ordinance before you is an ordinance creating an environmental advisory council for Pocono Township. It's the existence of the Environmental Advisory Council is provided for in the First Class Township Code, and it is a volunteer position that would need to be filled if it were to pass, and serves in an advisory role for the township.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns on the board? Natasha?
I do. So a couple things are, I know it was brought up in public comment and it doesn't seem to have any details in here regarding any kind of qualifications for the members. There was questions brought up about who's going to be overseeing this board as far as engineers or lawyers, or like all of our boards are overseen by lawyers, engineers, those kinds of things. So how are we creating this board, qualifications for people, and who's actually going to keep them on track? Or is it just a board of people who are going to advise us on environmental issues with no qualified backgrounds of engineers and lawyers?
Leo, is it typical to require certain qualifications for certain boards and ordinances? I mean, are there qualifications listed for planning or any of the other boards? I mean, obviously we want qualified people. We're going to select the best applicants, but in terms of the ordinance language.
Yeah, the only board that I am aware that has specific requirements for membership is the Code Appeals Board. If somebody wanted to challenge the building code or had an alternate method, your building code of appeals, I believe, has to have an architect, an engineer, and somebody else, because somebody involved in construction. So, but that's the only board that I'm aware of that requires specific requirements.
And the question about having a lawyer or engineer on the board, I mean, do you have thoughts on that, Leo?
It's a policy decision for the board, Commissioner Long, as to whether or not you want them to have counsel, advice of counsel, or an engineer if there are issues that are above the professional expertise of the members of the board. But that's a policy decision for the board.
But they're not. I'm sorry.
No, my understanding though is they're advisory, so advisory to us and also the planning commission, both of which have an engineer and an attorney. So it would not be absent any kind of overview before a decision was made, right? I mean, it would come before here where you and John sit, or the planning commission where it's Todd and Lisa. Or I got that wrong. It's not Todd and Lisa.
Todd is zoning, Lisa is planning. That's correct.
Yeah.
And
Amy and Lisa.
And I would just say, as far as oversight, I believe, Matt, it's required that there's a commissioner who is on the board, right? It's required that one of the members is a commissioner. So, that commissioner would be the person, presumably getting all the board into the building and getting things set up. So there would be someone here with, township authority to be on site while it's conducting its meeting.
And a planning commission member.
And a planning commission member.
But if you don't have someone helping this board out, I understand their advisory, but you're asking them to identify environmental problems, report it to the BOC and the PC, make recommendations for open land areas in the township, promote community events, keep an index of all open spaces and environmentally sensitive areas, public and private, identifying properties for the town to potentially purchase. So you're having them do all of this stuff with no qualifications, no oversight, hoping that by the time it comes to the PC or the BOC, John's going to have time to look over it, or Amy's going to have time. So essentially, they could be wasting a whole bunch of time if they're not operating within their purview.
You said there's going to be a whole board of people with no qualifications. I
said potentially no qualifications.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that. With any opening on any board, we are going to select the most qualified people, just like we did, at the beginning of the year. Are you
with no oversight?
Are you suggesting that we pay a lawyer to sit with them?
I'm not in agreement with the board anyway. I'm just bringing up some potential issues that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to pay, a lawyer to sit with them when they're purely advisory. They're not a decision-making body.
The planning commission is purely advisory.
And they have an engineer and a lawyer at every single one of their meetings.
And the stuff that would be going before the Environmental Advisory Council would also be going to the Planning Commission. And it would also be coming to us, where we do have an engineer and we do have a lawyer.
Well, it's just another layer of bureaucracy that I don't agree with.
Well, it's a group of people who have another set of priorities that they're looking at. I don't really think it's necessary to have an engineer there, because they're not looking at engineering issues. They're looking at how is this going to impact the environment, for the animals, for the wildlife, and for the people around the project.
How do they know?
Regardless of the engineering, and they provide their recommendation, and then the engineers look it over and they say, well, this is feasible, this isn't.
How will this board of environmental advisory people, how will they know? Will they need to be qualified in environmental impact? Will they need to be educated as far as how many squirrels live in this neighborhood?
Well, frankly, they're township residents. I mean, I think we all know what the Poconos.
That's not the point. They're going to be township residents, but what expertise are they going to have that's going to make their advisory?
Can I just say, I mean,
worth something?
I'm not going to mention anybody by name, but we literally put a realtor on the Civil Service Commission at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, what qualifications did he have? And he's a great guy. The chief said he's doing a great job. I voted for him. But to now sit here and say, that there should be express qualifications in the ordinance is a little bit silly to me, especially when this is just an advisory committee. I mean, the planning commission makes formal recommendations to the board on land development issues. This is just advisory. And I think the advisory councils, the environmental advisory councils nearby have done some great work. Look at Smithfield Township. The Environmental Advisory Council, go look at their social media. I mean, I think it's going to be an incredible value to the township, to the planning commission, to the board, and to the residents. And to bicker about, if we should expressly write qualifications into the ordinance, it seems a little bit silly to me.
And that's your opinion.
Yes.
Well, I would also say that it's the opinion of a lot of residents, and I've heard from them all over the township, that they're concerned about the environment in Pocono Township, how fast things are being paved over, how quickly we're developing. I think that getting this Environmental Advisory Council set up with a group of concerned citizens who want to see these things protected,
I think that that's important, and it shows a gesture of good faith to try to do better for the township in the future and make it so that these issues are front and center, and just show that we care about this and we're trying to, we're trying to address it for these people who are concerned.
So then does land development have to then go through them? Because if they're making recommendations to preserve the environment,
No, they
does
don't.
normal land
Correct me if I'm
development,
wrong.
any kind of zoning, does that have to go through them?
No.
So
Again, they're
if none of that's going through them,
they're
I think I can,
purely. Oh, so go ahead.
I think I can give an example. Let's say cell tower in a residential zone. Right? We had that come to us and the neighbors did all their research very well, actually. And lo and behold, there is no cell tower in a residential zone, and which brought it to our attention so that we could possibly put it in our ordinance that we're not going to allow cell towers in a residential zone because they're not essential services. So that type of thing, bringing it to our attention.
but that wasn't an environmental concern. That was a special exception number one. And it didn't get kicked out because of environmental concerns. It got kicked out because of the road issue, which wasn't an environmental concern, and it's a special exception. You have to allow it by right.
And then the solar farm, as another example, was an environmental concern. And early on, way before this board, residents came and said, you cut all those trees, we're going to have a flooding issue. We're going to have a stormwater issue. And we did. Maybe we should have concentrated a little more on that and said, maybe we could do it in phases. Don't cut all the trees at once. I mean, we could have had more input on that and we didn't. And we're reaping that was environmental because we've just polluted a leak that now has to be remedied by the solar people, but still that could have been avoided possibly.
I understand your concern, but you're also infringing on people's right for use of their personal property. So that went through John and Leo and the entire board. And regardless of your feelings on the trees for the solar farm, zoning is zoning. And saldo. So I understand this this environmental advisory committee, but they're going to say, don't cut the trees down. But zoning and land development supersede their opinion.
But we're also in the middle of a zoning rewrite right now, and they could be, once they're appointed, advising us on this zoning rewrite to help us to, make sure that these issues are addressed within the zoning more effectively.
But again, without any kind of set of qualifications, without an engineer or a lawyer overseeing them, what qualifications do they have to bring to me to give me a recommendation on the zoning rewrite? Besides feelings and opinions.
I'm thinking the same qualifications that we have to sit up here, right? None. None.
Here's the thing, we might not have qualifications, but we have professionals down here who give us their recommendations and advise us. We're creating a committee that doesn't have that advisory board.
They're not a decision-making body, though. I
They're
mean,
not a decision-making body, they're an advisory, but
Yeah.
Charles
They're
is saying they're
provided
gonna help
advice.
us with the zoning rewrite. But
they could provide advice to the board.
again, that's opinions and feelings though.
That's the
I'm
role,
not
is to
gonna keep
provide
fighting this. It's
advice
fine.
on environmental issues.
Anybody else have any board member have any other comments? Does the public have any comments?
Providing advice. Get sued for
Come on.
providing advice.
Could you please
Please come to the microphone.
I live in the Poconos. Since I'm 4 years old, I'm 59. I live in Pocono Laurel Lake.
Sorry,
I
could
live
you just say your name again?
Patrice Lanucci.
Thank you.
I live on a slope. The cutting down of those trees, I have had to replace the support beam in my home for $15,000. I have runoff. People are clear cutting everything everywhere. I live in a wet zone. So the advisory board, the meeting of many minds, I would believe all of that is someone's paid job to make sure that none of this happens to people's homes, their septics, their wells. My pipes have all collapsed. We've paid all of that out of our pockets. So just a committee who might say, hey, maybe you didn't think about this, to someone who should be thinking about this and might have not looked at the whole scope, might not harm anything and not cost anything, because some people have nothing to do but look this stuff up all day long. The Environmental Protection Agency, the DEP, you name it. I may not have a degree, but I have a lot of reading, research, and time on my hands. And I don't have the money to fix all this, but I'm not suing my neighbor. So it's very disappointing to hear that. Why wouldn't you want more expertise from everyone you could possibly get for free when all of the rest of the people we have elected should be making sure this doesn't happen? That's my opinion. That's it. And then those experts can figure it out. That's all.
I also just want to repeat something I said at the last meeting. Thank you. As soon as if this gets approved, I hope it does. I said before, I want to reach out to the Broadhead Watershed Association, Pocono Heritage Land Trust, environmental groups to see if they have any members in Pocono Township that would be interested in applying. So I think everybody is going to do all we can to get the most qualified people on the advisory committee.
Any other comments from the public? Anybody online? Oh, I'm sorry, Frank.
We do have one online though.
Frank Riley, Township resident. I've been up here before a lot, and I would agree that there should definitely be some kind of advisory board at just a township level, as far as giving you guys a third set of eyes. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people dumping sewage at the side of the road, and I've reported it. Now, that would be something that somebody like that could actually say something about, right? I mean, that's environmental. We're talking about stuff like that. We're talking about MCTI. And I've already mentioned that maybe they should only have half of their stuff go from R1 to R1 to R2. Based on the fact that once it's R2, they could build a massive school up there and there's nobody going to stop them. I'm not saying that that's what they would do. But again, if you have people coming with a third set of eyes, it just makes more sense. Thank you.
Online?
Don Albert.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, I was just listening to this and I agree that the advisory is a good idea. As for the cell tower, just for the record, we did a lot of legwork on wetlands. We did a lot of legwork on the stream, the animals that were there. We were just neighbors, but our plight was we did not want somebody coming in up there and messing with the wetlands. And the road was part of it. The road was our saving grace. But to say that the regular people with no qualifications won't do and put their heart into something that is protecting their land. Yes, we know how many deer are out there. We know how many animals have come on our properties since the solar farm has come about. So I strongly believe it's a great idea. And to say that regular residents don't have qualifications, every person has qualifications if they do their research and homework. And I would love to know that I had the opportunity before something was done to be able to bring our point of view, especially homeowners that live here for 40, 50 years. They know more than most of you commissioners do. Nothing personal, but to say that it's not a value, I disagree. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Anyone else online?
Next one up, Josh Knapp.
Go ahead, Josh.
Josh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to be counted as also in favor of an advisory group to the board. It makes us look more serious to other townships and to the state like DEP, who we have a good history with. It's a free brain trust that it's a free brain trust. I mean, we have a lot of talented people in the Poconos. I'm sure we have some great sources to tap from. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Jerry?
Next up, Maria Danges.
Well, I love the Poconos and anything that's going to try to preserve the beauty of our region, I am for. So I support this advisory group. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
That's all online.
Okay. Any other public comment? Anything else from the board? Nope. Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance number 2026-02, Environmental Council Ordinance.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Public comment? Anybody online?
No.
Roll call vote, please, Jared.
Commissioner Lee,
No, because there's no professional oversight.
Commissioner Velarde,
No, because we don't need another layer of government.
Vice Chair Long.
Yes, and it has oversight, and it's not another layer of government.
President Connect.
Yes.
Commissioner Kepler.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Tom.
Next, we have resolutions. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2026-12? This would be for a denial for failure to respond to the address or deficiencies set forth in the engineering review letter dated 2/23/24.
Madam President, prior to that, Paul has an update on that. We did receive an extension to last minute on Friday.
Okay, they had up until March 9th, right? So they have another week.
Yeah, that's correct. We received a letter from Labella on behalf of the applicant dated February 27, 2026, requesting an extension of 60 days to complete the land development plan pending before the township.
Yeah, so there's no action to be taken then, right? They've
It would be a motion to grant the 60-day extension. You would do a motion to, you would do a withdraw your motion, withdraw the second.
we don't have a
We
motion.
didn't have
Yeah.
We never had the motion.
No,
Okay, you jumped in
it's
before
quick
the second.
update.
Okay, okay.
Okay, now this motion is not on here. Do we have to add it or is this considered part of?
It would be considered part of the resolution or part of that action item.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we grant a 60-day extension to LDP 1414 135 Warner Road. Is there a second? Nobody wants to do that? So this is second. Discussion?
So what were the issues in the engineering letter that weren't being addressed?
Charles, I'm sorry, I brought the file last time thinking it was going to be turned down. I did not bring it this time. But there were quite a few issues in the letter. I don't know.
It was something about parking, right? I think I read through what was in the
No,
packet.
It's in our packet.
Oh, this is in the packet?
The draft resolution concerning the engineer comment letters as to what needs to be addressed is in the packet under resolution 2026-12.
I see there's an enforcement notice here. Is that related to this?
There's
The cease
been
and
quite a
desist?
bit. They have been non-responsive for quite some time. They've been operating as a change of use without the proper CO.
So the zoning office issued that notice of violation to kind of get the ball rolling, to get them to kind of start the land development process. This is the second notice because there was a change of ownership, so we sent a new notice. That's when the land development process kind of started. The engineers reviewed it and then it kind of died down. We haven't had much response. In the kind of update letter email, I did tell them if they didn't reapply for this land development extension, we would be moving forward with potential enforcement.
So all this time, have they been operating as whatever they're not supposed to be operating as then? Yes. And they're asking for another extension so they can then ignore us for another 60 days and then try to kick the can again?
That would seem what it's like.
Okay.
Well, they had till March 9th to file an extension. So I believe our process is if you file an extension, we grant it, or are we going to deny the extension? I thought we couldn't deny.
There have been multiple extensions given for this applicant, and each time it's, yeah, we plan to get the ball rolling again, and nothing's been done. That's why Paul had issued the enforcement notice.
And that's why we discussed it at our last meeting, about if there is no extension, and you can say in your motion, no further extensions.
So didn't we at the last meeting give other people a chance to get their extension in before we denied them?
Yes, Leisure Lake,
So,
in which they did get their extension in as well.
right. So now they've got their extension and they had till March 9th, I believe, of this year. Right. They have another week to get that extension in, and now they have.
They have. They both issued their extension request last week. The difference between Laurel Lake is less amount of extensions with, I guess, more preparation of work.
John, do you think they could get what they need done in 60 days?
If they settle down and do it, I just reviewed the resolution. We had over 60 some comments. I mean, 30 of them were stormwater. I mean, they've got serious work to do. Yes, it could be done, but given their track record, I'm not sure that it will be, but it could be.
I don't know if they keep asking for extensions and they're operating and they're not supposed to be operating, it seems like they're not doing what they're supposed to do here. I don't see why we continue to give them extensions for them to continue to not do what they're supposed to do. I think it's time to just deny them. If they want to get serious and come back, they can start the process all over again. But if they're really serious about it, then maybe they'll be willing to do it. But
So if I'm understanding this right, this is not only a land development plan, this is a violation that's been ongoing.
It's a violation, and in order to alleviate the violation, they would need land development approval. So if they don't get the land development approval, obviously they'd either have to restart, which would be reapplying. Which again, if they reapply, we would postpone again because they're working towards it.
What is the violation? That's
The
what would
use and
happen?
occupancy of the letter is in the notice of violation. So
they're operating like a towing company and like parking vehicles on their lot and stuff, which I think is pretty serious because if these vehicles are repos and they're leaking and they don't have the proper stormwater to handle the leaking particulates coming off of these vehicles, I mean that's a concern to me as far as our environment.
Okay, this at one time was Jimmy Schlier, and you just said it was purchased, so it's not Mr. Schlier anymore.
Yes, so the new owners are J Bar Pocono LLC. They are still running a towing company from there. The original enforcement action was for Schlier's Towing.
This is now RLE Towing.
How does the board feel?
So if it was a towing company and now it's a towing company, so what's the change of use?
The previous use before the towing company,
Oh.
it was an office. That's why we started the original enforcement. That's why they
this
started.
is really?
Yeah, this is the former United Way building on Warner Road.
Yeah, I was just looking on the map. So this is that old.
Yeah, it's been quite a few, and it's been kind of kicked down the road multiple times.
Well, I never liked giving people extensions, especially when they didn't feel like complying. So.
No, I've forgotten. We do not have a motion on the table, do we?
We do not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
did you?
Natasha
Yeah.
seconded it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, Ellen made it
Okay, correct.
for 60-day extension.
Okay, then we'll call for, well, is there any public comment? Anybody online?
No.
Call for the vote. Roll call, Jerry?
Commissioner Lee?
Yeah.
Commissioner Velarde?
No.
Vice Chair Long?
No.
President Ganam?
Yes.
Commissioner Kepler?
No.
Motion failed.
I thought we had 3 no's.
Yeah.
Motion failed.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Madam President, I would recommend that the board entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2026-12, which is a resolution denying the preliminary plan approval of the 135 Warner Road Schleers Towing. It says Schleers at that point, but that's, we know it's J-Bar Pocono LLC. But because they expire in a week, if we did not act tonight without any extension and we've not accepted their extension, then at that point in time, they would have a deemed approval. So action on the resolution would be appropriate this evening.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2026-12, denial for failure to respond to or address the deficiency set forth in the engineering review letter dated February 23rd, 2024 on LDP 1414 135 Warner Road. Do I have a second?
I'm confused. I thought we just voted on this.
No,
we voted on
we
a
voted down the
60-day.
extension.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And now we're voting
they
to
have
deny.
and now we have until March 8th or 9th to approve or deny. So unless you want to have a special meeting next week in order to accomplish it, we should accomplish that tonight.
I'll second.
Discussion? Public comment? Roll call vote, Jared?
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Blarty?
Yes.
Vice Chair Long?
Yes.
President Gann?
No.
Commissioner Kepler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-14, Pocono Township Board of Commissioners meeting decorum policy.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Is there any changes? Comments? Any public comment? Anybody online?
No.
Just for the record, this was discussed during a workshop that was held a few weeks ago. If you want to look back and learn a little bit more about the discussion that was had around this in anticipation of it coming up for a vote, it's also available in our meeting packet this evening for your review.
Roll call, please, Jared.
Commissioner Lee?
Yeah.
Commissioner Blarty? No. Vice Chair Long?
Yes.
President Gann?
Yes.
Commissioner Kepler?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-15, Pocono Township Board of Commissioners meeting minutes policy. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
The only thing is I didn't see and hear, we had discussed in depth about the summary minutes, but if we wanted something to extend beyond summary minutes, it was supposed to be a majority, not even a majority vote. It was a unanimous vote across the board.
Right.
I don't see that anywhere in here. Looks like it was all just deleted.
Leo, was that just overlooked or was there a reason to omit it?
Well, Leo wasn't.
This-
That was
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't involved.
Oh, I think I sent an email out.
I looked at the original one, but not that specific comment.
Okay,
Wait,
you're right, Ms. Sasha, we did agree. Can we make that amendment and approve it?
Sure.
It's a policy, right? So we can.
Yep.
Just so that we don't run into the risk of a majority.
Right.
He said, she said.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'll amend my motion to include that correction that 100%.
Should we see the verbiage in the, before it's voted on and pushed through?
Yeah, I'd like to see the final
So would
draft
I.
before we approve anything.
Okay, then I'll rescind my motion. Rescind the second.
Sure.
And I'll just make a motion to table it till the next meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Public comment? Online? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a motion to approve resolution 2026-16 Pocono Township Board of Commissioners agenda policy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Is everybody okay with that? Any public comment? Anyone online?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve a consent agenda of the following items. Old business consisting of the minutes of February 17th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and financial transactions through March 2nd, 2026 as presented, including ratification of expenditures in the amount of $432,150.63 for the following accounts: general fund, sewer operations, gross payroll, capital reserve, construction fund. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Anybody have any problems with it? Public comment? Anybody online? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're on to new business. The first one, I don't believe we have, so I'm just going to skip right through that. And if we can have that on the next agenda, maybe touch base with, can you have Lisa send that to us, Leo?
I will. I'll follow up tomorrow morning.
Okay. The next one I can't do, but does somebody want to make a motion to authorize the township solicitor to advertise for the hearing on the LRTA repeal ordinance? I have a conflict of interest. I have a client that would possibly benefit from a LRTA, so I'm going to abstain from that.
I'll make that motion. Motion to authorize the township solicitor to advertise for hearing on LRTA repeal ordinance. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Discussion?
I thought it was already repealed.
I do too.
We had a special meeting.
Not formally.
Oh,
So it was done by motion, and after going back and forth with E-code, they had requested it be done at a public hearing versus a motion.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I thought it was done.
No, it was authorized to be repealed, but this was never formally done. This is more of a housekeeping matter at this point.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Anybody online? Roll call?
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Velarde,
yes.
Vice Chair Long.
Yep.
President Gannett,
Abstain, I have a conflict.
Commissioner Kepler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is a motion to authorize the township solicitor to advertise for a hearing on the fog ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Pat, you want to give us a brief overview of what's in here?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. As I'd spoken to the board previously, the fog ordinance refers to fats, oils, and grease within our collection system. That has negative effects not only on our collection system, but also the wastewater treatment plant. So this is an ordinance that I worked on with the help of our solicitor and our engineer. And we've shared this also with BCRA, received a couple comments from them. And I would hope that the board would consider this for adoption.
I went to look through it and it was very long and looked very complicated. So what's the enforcement mechanism? How do you guys know who's dumping grease down their drains?
So there's a series of acts that'll take place once the ordinance gets adopted. We'll be going out and inspecting businesses that have the potential for fats, oils, and grease. And hopefully most of those businesses, if not all, are in compliance. There's certain requirements in terms of pumping and hauling fats, oils, and grease off premises. And as part of those inspections, if we determine that we believe or there's evidence of the business is not properly handling the fats, oils, and grease, then there's a series of follow-up that will take place, including ultimately fining. But the purpose of this is compliance more than anything.
the expenses of these inspections, that's going to be paid for out of the sewer budget.
That's correct. Yeah, we're proposing that this is actually becomes the inspection enforcement part of it becomes part of our overall Paul's.
So we did discuss this briefly to kind of tie it in with potentially with Commissioner Long was discussing with the hotels, motels inspections, kind of a yearly at the beginning of a year or some set time. We will go through all the kind of businesses that would be affected and get that all these kind of ordinances addressed at one time to alleviate some of the scheduling and kind of mishaps like that happen.
But it will be run through the sewer department, and there will be no additional cost to the general fund. I think that's the question that.
Yeah, and then my last question is this going to be a significant expense that's going to impact the presentation that we received earlier on, the sewers budgets and, our.
No, it should be net neutral because any infractions or costs that are associated with it will be paid for by the offending parties.
Fantastic. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any public comment? Sure, you come on up.
Patrice Lanucci, Martinsville. Would this be like another, like the ordinance or the committee we just discussed before, like environmentally? Shouldn't somebody be overlooking this already?
Well, the sewer department is, the sewer is like a separate entity
Right.
for us.
So you're proposing like another group of people for or an ordinance?
No. This is through zoning enforcement. So it's basically, people are pouring, if people on the sewer system, if they start pouring bacon grease down the drain.
All right.
We're part of our zoning enforcement will now have, a way to basically find those people and make sure that they stop doing it.
We don't have like a restaurant or whatever oversight. That's what I don't know.
No, we don't. Like at the point of permitting, it's included in the permit, but there's no follow-up to verify enforcement. And Pocono Township will actually be a leader in this regard. BCRA is the receiving wastewater treatment facility, and there's other collection systems that contribute to BCRA. Pocono will be the first to adopt this particular ordinance. So we're kind of leading the way in this.
Just thought it was part of another already thing. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone online?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next is a motion to authorize the township solicitor to draft a resolution outlining the fee structure for the police cost ordinance. Do I have a motion for that? I'll make that motion to authorize the township solicitor to draft a resolution outlining the fee structure for the police cost ordinance.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Go ahead. Do we have those costs to include in the resolution?
I would suggest if this passes, my thought was that perhaps you, Jared, and Chief could have a quick discussion, or it doesn't need to be quick. We want it to be a fair fee, but maybe a Zoom call or a meeting just to get on the same page in terms of what we think is a fair fee for the resolution, if that makes sense. So I think, authorizing you to draft this, your next step would be to talk to Jim and Jared, or I can, and report back to you, however you want to do it.
I can certainly give them a call. I mean, it's.
Because it has to be, obviously, it has to be correlated with the actual cost. Obviously, we can't use it to raise revenue. It has to be cost neutral. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. It has to reimburse the township for the cost incurred if they exceed the number of calls.
And I think the police have already compiled a lot of data, and I think Jared's even looked at this a little. So
yeah, we did compare all the other townships throughout Pennsylvania that have this and pulled their rates as well.
I don't think this number should come from the Board of Commissioners. It's not a political number. This is a fee number, so it should come directly from, the township where the fees are being incurred.
Any public comment? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are we gonna be discussing the police cost recovery ordinance later, or are we gonna be tabling that one until we have the fee structure outlined?
Well, my personal opinion would be I would table it until we know what our fee is. That's how I feel.
I think, I don't know, I think I consider tabling it as well, just based on the comments that were made before about, the spousal abuse. I want to make sure that we're capturing all, forms of abuse within the ordinance as well. I want to make sure her comments were addressed because I think that she made an important point.
So, in discussing the fee structure, the purpose of this is disproportionate police use. And I'm not defending the resorts because I don't like the traffic. I don't like the crime that's brought in. However, when we're talking about disproportionate usage and then charging a fee onto the user after 2 calls, a typical homeowner is paying pennies on the dollar per month. So I pulled our 4 large taxpayers. So our police budget is about 65% of our overall revenue over the next few years. So in addition to school taxes, amusement taxes, Camelback pays $266,000 municipal taxes. That's $173,000 towards the police per year. That's $15,000 per month. Great Wolf pays $308,000 towards the police. That's $25,000 per month. The Crossings pays $228,000 towards the police, which is $19,000 per month. And Sanofi pays $256,000 towards the police. That's $21,000 per month. Those 4 users alone are paying $80,000 a month towards just the police. It's not the municipal taxes. So to allow them, they pay $80,000, and to allow them 2 calls per month when the normal homeowner, taxpayer, single family residence pays pennies on the dollar, I don't think that's fair. I think that's disproportionate and abusive to the resorts to only allow 2 calls per month when they pay that amount of money. They pay $80,000 4 users, $80,000 a month towards just the police. That's not municipal taxes. That's just the police.
How do you figure just the police? How did you figure that?
Because I pulled all the tax records, pulled their municipal taxes, and then divided that by 65%, which is our police budget.
Did you take off the TIF?
That's what they're paying. I took off everything, and I took off Camelback's amusement tax, which is $668,000, not including hotel and sales taxes. They also pay $1.7 million in school taxes, $3 million in school taxes, $2.3 million in school taxes, and $2.6 million in school taxes. So those 4 also contribute over $10 million a year in school taxes to Pocono Mountain School District. Again, I'm not defending the resorts. However, that is not fair to give them 2 calls per month when they pay that amount of money in taxes. That's disproportionate to them.
I think it's 24 a year. We changed it to. It's not 2 a month anymore. We took out the 2 a month.
It was taken out. That was for the normal homeowner, and Leo sent an email that it can't be biased based on zoning.
No, it's for everyone. So it's 24 a year for anyone in the township. So the 2 a month provision's gone.
So the crossings.
Yeah, they're gonna exhaust.
People are falling from the parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
And then that falls on the crossings. They get 2 calls per month because people are screwing off in the parking lot. It has nothing to do with the actual owner of the crossings. They pay $19,000 a month towards the police. They're only allowed 2 calls. How is that fair? I understand offsetting the cost of the normal taxpayer, and we're talking about disproportionate uses. But again, I pay $1,000 a year towards the police a year. They pay $80,000 a month.
Well, the thing is, you could have another thing there. It wouldn't have to be like a tourist attraction. You could have a manufacturing plant there that was generating the same tax revenue to the township, but they're only calling the police, I don't know, 3 times a year. It's the different type of the development that's there that's causing the increase in police calls, because you have shoplifting as an issue, because you have
interpersonal shoplifting. Why should the store pay for that? So if someone goes in and steals from J. Crew twice a month, the 3rd time that someone shoplifts in J. Crew, they're either not going to call the police because they're scared to pay the fee because the crossing is absolutely going to put that back on them, or they're just going to be penalized. How is that fair to
Well, I think the
business?
Well, I think the idea is that the business would try to get their own security so that they could manage these things in-house and they wouldn't be outsourcing that cost to the taxpayers.
So are we going to offset their taxes that they're paying if they're forced to get their own security services?
No, because they won't be paying the fee. That's the offset.
Everything's done, that they don't have to call the police department, which they're paying for. Are we then going to offset their taxes?
Well, yeah, they won't be paying the fee. That's the offset. They either rely on the police department and they pay the fee, and
All the people in this room are paying taxes for the protection of the police department. But God forbid somebody calls the police twice or 3 times in a month, they're gonna get jammed up.
That's not fair.
But what about the other businesses? What about the aluminum facility?
Instead of 2 times a month, they call 26 times in a year. They're gonna get jammed up for that?
No resident called the police more than 24 times last year.
That's not the point.
That was exactly just.
That's not the point.
You just said if somebody calls.
The point is, they're already paying taxes to have the police department. Why are we gonna charge them a fee to have the police department? Well, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not fair to the taxpayers.
But it's not just the police department. It's the roads, because these resorts that draw in a lot of people, they have put more impact on our roads, both local. It's the litter, the money they're paying in taxes. It's not just going to the police department. It's going to managing all of these issues. And it's disproportionate use. It is disproportionate use of our police department. Because like I was saying, you could have a business of the same exact size, paying the same exact amount in taxes, but they're not calling the police as often. This is a disparate impact situation where there are certain users in the township, there are certain residences, there are certain, well, not residences, clearly we don't have any more than 20. There are certain businesses within the township that are using the police service far more than anyone else. And we should be making sure that they're paying their fair share for that police usage.
There's that fair share again.
I'm going to move this along. We have our opinions. Is there any public comment? Frank?
I've wasted such times last year, get people riding ATVs up on assembly activity. I should be able to call them if they throw out there every day, and I should be able to call them every day. That being said, I think that just looking at this from the perspective of the whole population that comes in. And if I had 1,000 people coming every weekend, like, of course there's going to be bad apples or call. So I think it has to be changed. It has to be applied to the number of people that each resort. Because if they only have one person currently, like I have in my house, I don't, yes, I have called, but I'm saying, like, on a normal day, I wouldn't have called anybody else in the township. Have 1,000 people there on the weekend, anything. That should be, figure out how to.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Frank, I think we discussed this at the last meeting. I had asked Leo, and he told me that a situation where you're calling because your neighbor's doing something, that wouldn't be something that would fall under this ordinance, because you're not calling to your own property to address an issue that's occurring on your own property. You're calling on someone else who is, causing an issue elsewhere. So that's not something that would fall under this ordinance.
They're supposed to maybe because we're trying to figure out something because of the mass of the population. Double population on the weekend on a raw,
Leo, could you tell us what some of the exemptions are? Because there are exemptions, right, of things that we cannot.
It's the abuse. It's the abuse that was defined, and I agree that the definition needs to be changed to broaden it beyond spousal or children abuse. I think it has to be any kind of domestic abuse, and but that has to be changed. But that's the exemption.
What about motor vehicle accidents, right? Don't count.
Motor vehicle accidents, yeah, that,
right.
Yeah.
And
What about medical? I mean, or could we choose to exempt medical? I mean, if somebody has a health issue where they have to call, I don't know that. I mean, what are some of the things we could exempt?
Well, you could exempt medical. Could exempt medical. I mean, but you know, what you see this is obviously you have a lot of, or potentially a lot of shoplifting at the crossings. That's a resource that the police get called on. You know, for the other parks and everything, you have, whether it's disorderly conduct, whether it's drinking, whatever it might be. But no, you can certainly exempt medical. Accidents are exempted, and spouse or domestic abuse, violence should be exempted.
Any other public comment? Sure.
Cheryl Parks, the Menus taxpayer. So in our case, on our private road, which a business has been allowed to go on our private road, we had no choice. And we were forced to call the police many times. How does that work?
I think it would be the same thing. It's an issue with your neighbor's property where they're not, properly confining. I'm guessing you're talking about the dogs. They're not properly confining the dogs. And so that would be an issue, not of your property. So it wouldn't fall within the ordinance. It wouldn't be, you getting charged. I don't know that.
Let's confirm that.
I think Leo said last time, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the owner should be subjected to additional fees if the neighbors are constantly trespassing, whether it's themselves, their dogs. It's the offending person that's ultimately going to. It's out of resort.
I said the same thing last time, that it's guilty until proven innocent, because if Cheryl calls on her neighbor, then the burden's on the police department to find out whether it's true or not, if they were trespassing or not, whether they issue a citation, yada, yada, yada. But the neighbor has one red mark, and then Cheryl calls again, and let's say Cheryl made something up. They go, it's another red mark. So then are we going to start tallying up what's actually a real violation versus not?
And I had that with me.
I know.
But I mean, they called the police on me.
People were trespassing on your property.
Right, and I had cameras, thank God.
They're coming to your house. You're calling on the neighbor. There's red marks on the neighbor.
Well, then they're doing tit for tat, because then they're calling my property.
So I just want to reiterate this point. The most calls at an individual homeowner's location was 20. It wasn't you. The second was 12. Still not you. Okay. Yeah, I actually know your number because I looked into it. I'm happy to share that with you right now if you want, or I can tell you.
No, I just wanted to know how that
you were well under halfway to 24.
Okay.
So you weren't even close.
But that could change. That could change.
But what happens then in a situation like Cheryl has, where she has a legitimate problem with her neighbor and it becomes a tit for tat, and then her neighbor knows now that based on this ordinance, she'll be charged after 2 calls. So if I had a vendetta against Cheryl, I would sit there and call every day and say, Cheryl did this, Cheryl did this.
Right, you were you're practicing, they called twice doing that, taking pictures of my grandkids and doing all this stuff. And that's what it was.
To make sure it doesn't become an abuse of neighbor disputes.
Just again, for the record, it's not after 2 calls, it's after 24 calls within a year.
Can you say 2 neighbors started calling the police on each other 25 times next year? I mean, isn't there you can't call the police without good reason, right? I mean, if you're just calling to try to get your neighbor to pay a fee, I mean, I don't think that would count, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that the police who would submit the request for the reimbursement and start the process, I would believe that they would take all of that into account.
Well, all of that has to be substantiated. So my concern, first of all, this isn't my battle, my debate. I want to be clear. But I really feel that it's going to cost us more money to enforce this. Billing, how are we going to do that? Is it even worth whatever fee we're trying to figure out. So
How would it cost you to enforce it? The only
who's going to do it?
the only thing
The time that it has to take to substantiate the whole and total it up.
I got the data in a day.
Those are called numbers.
Yeah, I'm saying
I'm talking about the time.
I got the data
per call.
in the day from your officers that we needed.
Right.
We would be tracking it, I think.
And those are called volume numbers, but we're talking about time. How much time is each officer at each location? We know by dispatch and the time that the officer leaves the call, but the follow-up to those investigations is where we're going to have a hard time.
Well, these are all
calls out exactly how much time the officers have spent on the incident that we want to bill for.
Yeah, you wouldn't need to track that. I mean,
the township, that's easy. That's what it provided.
The townships that have done this have just done a flat fee that is a fair average of cost per call, essentially. And again, Leo can correct me if I'm wrong. We haven't even drafted this resolution yet, but I would assume he's going to model it after the resolution that corresponds with the ordinance that we modeled. So it would be the same thing.
And the costs as far as administering this, that will be captured within the fee. So again, it should be revenue, it should be revenue neutral. We're paying for the cost of the response and the cost of the administration of enforcing the fee. And, hopefully, some of these places that are making these disproportionate police calls will take steps to try to limit their calls, to bring down the cost to the residents for policing, and to try to take some stress off our police department.
So, Chief, it doesn't sound like you were consulted based on your response. So, if this ordinance is passed, how do you anticipate enacting it? And paying? Are we going to have to hire someone else to then bill the resorts?
The township manager can do it.
The town. So you're gonna put the billing on the township manager for the police department as far as that.
Yeah, all we would have to do is bill once a year. But you get the data at the end of the year. You give it to Jared. He assigns the. We changed that, and it was sent to you today. Actually, it was your change that we enacted, which I give you full credit for, and it was sent by Leo today. And yeah, it's not gonna. It's going to be pretty simple, actually, from my understanding.
Doesn't sound very simple.
It is simple. You get the data, you get it to Jared, he assesses the fee times the amount of calls, and you send a bill.
And what happens when people start fighting it?
This is a very legally, this is explicitly allowed by statute, by the state. Which is why many townships do this already, especially ones with high police costs like us and disproportionate users like us.
What do other townships allow for? Do they have different number of calls for commercial versus residential, or is it two?
I've only reviewed 2 ordinances. I don't know how many Leo reviewed before drafting it, but the one that we modeled was 2 a month, and then you start charging on the third. But your proposed change, which we all agreed with, was a very good change to go from 2 a month to 24 for the whole year, so that if a resident does have 3 in a month, they're not going to get charged. They get their full 24 throughout the year, no matter when they use them. And again, no resident had more than 24 last year.
And is it by address?
Yes, so I think your suggested change regarding the parcel issue was not changed.
So then someone who has numerous residences on one property and one parcel gets the 24 calls per year.
Yes.
So they get the same luxury as a single family house versus a multifamily property versus a commercial property.
I believe it is by parcel. The reasoning there is, the crossings, I think is the main one. If you separate it all by each address, then the crossings is number 3 in terms of police calls in Pocono Township. It places the 3rd highest burden on Pocono Township. So that change would have basically exempted them from any cost, really. I mean, maybe they still would have gotten some, but I don't think any specific store at the crossings would have exceeded the limit. But we didn't look at that data.
Again, though, so there comes in my point. So the owner of the crossings property is the one that's going to be charged. They're not responsible for the shoplifter at J. Crew. And so they only get 24 per year per this ordinance. How is a property like the Crossings responsible for all 100 stores or however many are in there, plus the parking lot? How is that fair?
Well, I also think, I mean, how is it fair right now to the taxpayer who does pay for the police and never calls them? You know, we have taxpayers. I had so many messages saying, "Can I get a bonus if I don't call the police?" No, is the answer. You can't.
I don't pay for services in the case of emergency in case we need them.
Yeah.
That's what you pay those taxes for.
Yeah, but when there's, you know, one entity, almost 1,000 calls in a year, that places a disproportionate burden on the township, on the taxpayer that is paying for the police and not using them. And this is a very legal way to recover specific costs related to our highest, cost in the township. So, and to be fair, the amount that this would generate doesn't come anywhere close to the cost, of our police, but it's something.
Did you factor in the taxes that they're already paying per month when you factored in your costs for the police?
I would happily look at your numbers, but I mean, you could go down that rabbit hole all day long. I mean,
but it is a rabbit hole because if I was paying that much money for a service and then you went to charge me for it for any over two, I would absolutely fight that battle.
Well, it's over 24. And again, this is explicitly allowed by statute, according to Pennsylvania State.
I'm going to call for the question. By statute doesn't mean we let it do it.
Call for the question.
We're not even on the ordinance. We're on the destructure resolution, so.
Jared, roll call vote?
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Blarney?
No.
Vice Chair Long?
Yes.
President Gann?
Yes.
Commissioner Kepler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the waiver of fees on Pavilion 3 for Colonial U20 on May 14th. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next is a motion to purchase a new copier as approved in the 2026 capital budget. I don't necessarily like that wording. Wasn't approved. It was accounted for. The 2026 capital budget in the amount of $11,560. Is there a motion to do that? Seeing none, we'll move on. But I did want to ask Jared, how many copiers do we have? And is this replacing one or?
We have two, and this is replacing the back one, the rear one. That's the one that gets the most use. It prints all these packets.
Are you guys having problems with it that we're replacing it, or?
It's 8 years old. The scanning feature is not what it used to be. It can't update to the latest firmware anymore.
I mean, these packets all come through Scan every week. I haven't seen any issues. I know we don't want to wait until how many do we have?
I see falls, yes. Please. I use the printer all the time on multiple occasions. It will either stop halfway through a scan or it'll skip printing. We've had like packets for ZHP meetings that didn't get all of the documents in there. So there are issues with it. Again, I don't want to kind of tell you guys how to.
We had it repaired? Are we on a lease or do we own it?
No, we own it.
Okay. And have we looked to repair it or is it not repaired?
It's out of its life cycle, so they can't perform any updated firmware updates on it anymore.
So you need it.
So it's the game that the copier people or technology plays.
Well, are there third-party service providers who will at least come out and the software maybe is out of date, but as far as the hardware issues with things not scanning, things not pulling through the machine, whatever rollers that need to be replaced, there's nobody who can come out and do that sort of preventative maintenance even after it's.
They service it mechanically. Mechanical isn't the issue. It's new scanning software versus the old scanning software. It doesn't, Adobe, updates itself, weekly. Whereas this hasn't updated itself in 5 years, or 3 years, I should say. It's based off of 5 year cycles. So we purchased these in 2018.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the purchase of the copy machine in the amount of $11,560. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Oh, it's in the budget already.
Does this $11,000 include like a service contract?
It does. It has a 5-year service contract built into it, and that also includes the toner and maintenance kits as well.
Oh, that includes the toner too?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
it's all.
It's expensive. Any public comment? Anyone online?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we need a motion to repair or replace the Johnson Controls environmental engine in the amount of $16,545.36. Do I have that motion? Can you explain?
Yeah.
What this is?
So this is for the environmental controls. This building is controlled by a company called Johnson Controls. Everything from our lighting to our air handlers, our air exchangers, and our HVAC units. So it's a basically a spider web where we can control the environmental rather than per thermostat. So it shuts down, when the sensor right above you. When it knows somebody isn't in the room, the temperature will go up. When somebody walks in, it'll turn it down, it'll turn the lights on and off. Same thing when it's too hot, it'll turn the air exchangers on. It monitors the outside temperature. We have air exchangers up in the attics over here, where it will pull the hot air out and recycle the air back into the handler. So this is the main engine for that. Again, the last time it was changed in this building was 2009. It won't take any more firmware updates. Also, Johnson Controls cannot do anything else with it until we put the new engine in. So it doesn't hold the memory that it used to, and this is something we will need. So when we replaced 5 of the units here last year, they're on standalone thermostats. They're not part of the central nib because Johnson Controls won't add anything else to it because it crashes every other time. We'll also need this to come into compliance on the HVAC side with the police improvements as well.
This will control the police also?
Yeah, this is the whole building, inside, outside, air changers in the attic, and the parking lot lighting.
And what's the life expectancy of this new one? How many times we have to?
Did you say the?
2009.
2009, so
it's almost 50 years old. It's currently working, but if we get like a power blip or anything like that, it loses everything. We walk in, it's 60 degrees in here. So it's just maxed out. It took the max amount of firmware updates that it could. There's been, just from certain things shorting or dying, throughout while this building was closed for 10 years. It just can't handle anything else, and Johnson Controls can't service anything else adding to the system until we replace this.
Well, it's another item that we need, and it's already in the budget.
Yeah, so there was 85,000 put into the capital budget this year to replace some HVAC changes that we need. We do have another failed unit in room 105. That'll be probably in a month. That'll be on that agenda. But we anticipated this coming into it.
We're already on like a service contract with Johnson Controls too, right? And everything in the building is all set up. I remember you guys approved something having to do with Johnson Controls before we moved in here.
We talked about it a couple times. We couldn't come to terms for the preventative maintenance contract with what Leo wanted to see in Johnson Controls. So we are under contract because Johnson Controls can only service their own things, but we're not under the preventative maintenance contract.
Is that included in this, or is that still
that's separate? Standalone. This is just for the engine and labor on that.
So if do we want to approve this if we're not under a preventative maintenance contract to keep up with it?
The preventative maintenance would need to be something separate. Leo had a couple of concerns, and
Do you remember what that was, Leah?
they're testing me. Okay.
Okay.
It's probably about 8 months ago. But I'll after
I don't know about the rest of the board, but I'd like to take a look at that and see if we get that approved before we buy more equipment for this system. I'd like to come to terms on the preventative maintenance to make sure it's going to be getting maintained going forward.
But they're not going to be able to do preventative maintenance on the current engine as sits.
Well, yeah, but if we decide that we can't come to terms on the contract, then we may decide maybe we want to go with a different vendor or a different system.
That would be significantly more of a cost because they would have to put all their new sensors in every room, all their new thermostats, change it to.
So it's not going to break down tomorrow, right? I mean,
it's broken now. If the power blips, I mean, certain sensors, aren't reading or things of that nature. We don't have remote capability. To be able to hook up to it, we can't put, a new computer on it. We have to put a dated laptop on there that I brought from my house just so we can access it.
Is there an urgency to get this done tonight, or can we kick it a meeting, get the preventive maintenance contract looked at, see if we can get the terms ironed out, and then get this all approved at once? That way we know.
maybe there's a discount if you do both. I don't know.
We can try.
Is everybody okay with that, or how does the board feel?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so are we making a motion to table?
Do we need a motion to table on that one? I'll make that motion. Motion to table
Johnson.
The replacement of the Johnson Controls environmental engine as approved in the 2026 capital budget in the amount of $16,545.36. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
All right, so next one here. I'll jump right into it. Yeah.
Go ahead if you want to make the motion. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to explain my motion. So I want to make a motion to have the solicitor draft a clarification to statute number 390-58 common open space recreation areas and in lieu of fees. This is something that comes up pretty frequently at our meetings. We end up waiving them. We end up being indecisive about, what we want to charge. So I'd like to have, I talked a bit with John Tressler about this. I'd like to have this looked at by our solicitor, see if we can get the issues with it ironed out. And if we get beyond the motion, we can talk about those a little more, but I'd like to make that motion if I have a second.
I'll second it for discussion.
Thank you.
Hang on. Oh, you're right. Go ahead, discussion.
Yeah, so 1 second, I'm just pulling up my notes here on it. Oh, of course, my computer crashes. Well, there were three main things that I talked about with John. There was the way that the fees are set. Right now, they are set in the ordinance. That's my understanding. So if we wanted to change the fees, either to lower them or to raise them, we would need to hold a hearing and go through, the entire amendment process to get that changed. I'd like to see it set by resolution. That way we can, adopt fee schedules based on, demand for housing in the township. It make it so it's adjustable by the commissioners to, to meet the market demands of the township. Another issue that I had noticed was that our definition of open space doesn't seem to gel with the state's definition of open space. The state defines common open space as being, for the Commonwealth, for everyone. But our ordinance seems to have a stipulation where you can have basically private open space and you can have those fees waived. My understanding of the open space requirement is to make sure that we have park space for our residents. I don't think we should be having private swimming pools put in and then not having those residents, having money come to the township to develop park space for them. I believe the other issue Was that it, Jones? I can't remember. Was there was another thing?
Well, there's always the disparity is an apartment complex and commercial use.
Yes, commercial versus residential. That was the third thing. So commercial versus residential in the current ordinance, we just say commercial development versus residential development. It doesn't make clear whether that means zoning commercial or residential zoning, or whether it means like residential development. So you can put like a residential development in a commercial zone, and we would be charging them for, as if they were a commercial property. My understanding was, when you have a bunch of units, you're bringing more people in, you need more money for park space. That's why you'd be charging these in lieu of open space fees. You wouldn't want to be charging by the acre for a residential development that's going to be bringing in, 500 families. So, I'd like to get that ironed out in there to make it clear that when we say residential, we mean you're building housing. And if we say commercial industrial, we mean you're not building housing. So those are the three things I would like to see addressed in the change, and I would be open to anyone else. I mean, this is something that comes up a lot. Pretty much every time these open space fees come up. Even before I was making my little stink about it, I know the commissioners were always trying to decide, where they wanted to set the fees. I think, and frankly, I think the $1,400 a unit fee maybe a little bit too high. That I think we could do to bring that down a little bit. I know John had suggested maybe like a graduated schedule to say if you're building, a certain number, you get a discount. You build a certain number of units, you get a further discount, something like that. Because if you're building smaller units, there are less people. So there are other things worth looking at here, but I think it's worth having the solicitor look into it.
I just want to say that this is my little pet peeves that we've been discussing over years, but the planning commission and our rewrite is supposed to be addressing this. So I don't necessarily want to step on their toes. Jointly, we're supposed to be coming up with something. The NPC, there are other rules and reasons why you would not have to pay it, because the NPC says the park that you're funding can't be any more than like 4 miles from where you're at. So there's a lot of other nuances that aren't in our ordinance, but they're derived, I think, from the NPC. So I agree, we definitely have to address this, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels as to when, because we have started with the planning commission, but things are coming to us and we don't have this solidified. So
I think it'd be better to address it now, because the zoning rewrite, it's going to take years still. Who knows when we're going to get to this? This is something that's coming to us. Almost like every other meeting now. So I think it's worth looking at and addressing now. And we can still potentially can we decide to send it before the planning board? Would it go before the planning board anyway? A change like this? So
it's up to yourself, though. The answer is yes.
Yes. So it would still go before them. We'd still have the opportunity to get their input on it.
Yep. Does the board have anything else to say on that?
No, I agree with you all. I think we should wait till we're done with the rewrite and get their input. Get the planning commission's input as well.
But I think what he just said was we are going to get it because they have to have it. Leo just said they have to have input. Is that what you just said, Leo?
Yeah. Any amendments to the subdivision ordinance or the zoning ordinance has to go through the 30-day review period by both planning commissions, and then ultimately advertisement, hearing, and enactment.
So because it's a problem every time a land development comes, I'm thinking I was with you, and then I'm thinking maybe we should address it sooner, as long as the planning commission has the input, because it comes before us every land development.
Yeah, it does.
So board decision, but
No, I agree.
any other discussion from the board? Any public comment? Anybody online?
No.
A roll call, chairs?
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Flaherty?
Yes.
Vice Chair Long?
Sure.
President Ganant?
Yes.
Commissioner Kepler?
Yes.
Motion carried.
So we just ask that we all give Leo our ideas, and then he could sort through them, right?
Yep. And I already mentioned I'll be talking to John about it also.
Thank you. Okay, the next item. I need clarification. I would like clarification before we do a motion, or do we have to do the motion and then discuss it?
we should bring a motion to the floor for discussion, and I think the interested parties are here this evening.
Okay.
They are.
So does anybody want to make a motion to authorize the president of the board to sign the intermunicipal agreement with Hamilton Township for the purposes of the Land Development Plan 1401?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? I have a second. And I've said it before, but I don't, and I also, today I talked to Buddy Buzzard, is it, in Hamilton Township, supervisor. And their concern is they want to make sure that Pocono Township agrees that once this building is built, that the taxes will go to Hamilton Township. And we've discussed the mansion rule, and that is what technically has to happen. It's not a lot of necessarily choice on that. But the agreement, I don't think, is proper because it does not put Hamilton Township as a party. My thought is that this agreement should be between Pocono and Hamilton that says once this building is built, once they get their occupancy permit, right, then we would turn the taxes over to Hamilton. But until it's built, the mansion rule doesn't apply. You have to have a building, and based on it takes years sometimes to put a building up. I don't want to forgo necessarily our taxes until that building's up. So there were some things in there. Also, the school district can be on there. They don't have to be, because the school district is decided once we in Hamilton decide Hamilton Township is the taxing authority. Once the building's up, the school district just follows. So the only reason you would have Pocono Mountain sign it, and they can sign it, is that get their agreement up front so that it's not appealed at a later time. They have to appeal, but you could get their permission. So I think that we should redraft it and just make it very simple, that we agree that if we agree that when this building is built, that we will turn that over to them. Hamilton will sign, we'll sign. If we want the school district in there, they'll sign. I don't know that it's a developer item legally. So I see we have.
If I may, Madam President, Chris Brown, I'm legal counsel for the property owner. Just to address a couple of the points you just raised, the agreement that is before you is substantially identical to the agreement that was before you in December, which I had come to you to speak about in November. The reason Hamilton Township was not on the agreement and Pocono Mountain School District was on the agreement at that time is because that's what the assessment office told us to do. My position is that none of the property owner, nor Pocono Township, nor Hamilton Township have any say in this matter whatsoever. This matter was decided by the Mansion House rule, as you mentioned before. But the assessment office says they're not willing to make a change like this unless they get acknowledgement from the affected taxing authorities, the taxing authorities that are going to lose the revenue, acknowledging the Mansion House rule. So the agreement that you got is exactly what the assessment office requested of us. After this board approved the agreement in December and signed it, but we didn't agree. Your solicitor asked if we could add Hamilton Township just to address that issue. I checked with the assessment office. They said, we don't care. You can have anybody sign it you want as long as Pocono Mountain School District and Pocono Township are there. So we added Hamilton Township, and I believe now it is ready for execution.
And I have to disagree with you, because in there it says once the building permits are issued, and once the building permits are issued, the building is not up. The mansion issue doesn't come into play until the building is up, is my understanding.
So this is directly from the assessment office. The assessment office asked us to do it as a building permit. That is what they indicated is the event that causes them to make a change.
No, I haven't, and I've had several conversations with Chris and daily emails from Chris. Because the project is being held up by Hamilton pending, the signing of an agreement. Chris, let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
There is a point on the CO, certificate of occupancy. Would there be a problem to amend this agreement to provide that the taxing of this parcel would change as to the party receiving the tax? Very simple, upon the issuance of a CO. Would you have a problem with that?
I have a problem with that, not personally or on behalf of the property owner, but because it's the opposite of what the assessment office told me to do, and I defer to their wisdom on what is the appropriate mechanism at which time it changes.
I guess the question is, when do they reassess?
I'm looking at your lawsuit here, and it says that the Monroe County says the plaintiff has expressed his willingness to implement the correct assessments once it receives either the consent of all affecting taxing bodies or judicial declaration. So we're offering to the consent of the taxing bodies, and you're saying that's not good enough, and I don't understand. That's what it asks for. So, and I've talked to the county also, and it's an agreement between us and Hamilton. I don't understand. The county will do the assessment, but we have to agree, and then they'll do it based on the mansion rule. But I don't understand why the developer would need to be in on it, other than I see you're offering to pay all the costs. That I see.
You're preaching to the choir. I don't know why we have to be involved either, other than Hamilton Township won't give us what we need until this is resolved, and nobody else is going to light a fire under everybody who needs to do something other than us. I agree. I don't want to be here, and I don't want to hassle you.
Well, I think the supervisor I spoke with today, Buddy Buzzard, I believe his name is, he was okay as long he wants to be sure that they're going to get the revenue, and I totally understand that. And I don't think this board disagrees that once that building's up, it's in Hamilton, they're going to get the taxes. So we could give that agreement to Hamilton, which I think would satisfy him, and all the other stuff in here, and get the school district on there just so, there's not an appeal or something. But all the other stuff in there, I think it's that simple, and I don't know why it's not that simple.
Well, in the agreement, it says that it's located within Pocono Township, and then the next paragraph is whereas the Consolidated County Assessment Law 53 PA 8818. It says once developed, it should be designated as a parcel located in Hamilton Township. So isn't that what you're asking for? Because I mean, it's CO once developed, so once developed meaning
Just to be, yes.
there.
Yeah, and I understand Chris's dilemma here. You call up the assessment office, they say, yes, upon the issuance of a building permit, Chris does his job, promptly gets out an agreement. And, but I mean, Chris, I think you hear the board, you have it on word, add Hamilton as a quote party, change it to CO issued, and I don't think you'll have any problems getting it signed.
Well, we didn't have a problem getting it signed in December. So, I mean, what's changed between December and now? I mean, this was executed by this township in December. It just wasn't delivered. So I don't understand why that was okay in December. There's been no change to the mansion house rule between December and today, I assure you.
The board changed. That's
the board changes is the biggest change.
But I don't remember seeing an agreement. I mean,
Natasha signed it.
Opposed to it.
Natasha signed it, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think I signed it in December.
So you did. I have a copy of it.
So the agreement that you would be agreeing to as it stands now is that as soon as they get a building permit prior to that building being built.
Well, I mean, I think that Leah would have a challenge in here because two different paragraphs say two different things.
Yes.
Because the one says once developed, the other one says the issuance of building permits.
Yes.
But again, it doesn't fall in any of us. The Monroe County makes decisions.
You need a copy?
No, it
The
was,
county wants us, Hamilton and Pocono, to agree who's gonna get taxed. And then once the building's built, they will assess it to Hamilton. And Hamilton will get that. Hamilton wants the guarantee, because they don't want to go through all this risk and not know for sure that we're gonna do that and not gonna fight it.
Well, there's so little of this project is in Pocono Township.
Right, and I'm not.
You don't have any to lose by letting them have it.
Right now, we have taxes to.
But I don't understand though, because it says we're keeping it until it once developed and then it turns over to Hamilton Township.
Hamilton is not a party to this. And
Hamilton Township has a signature on the back page area.
I know.
I'm confused as how Hamilton's not a party to this.
So
If
the
they're,
first
they
paragraph-
sign it too.
In the first paragraph, it defines the parties and Hamilton is not one of them. There's legal ramifications to not being listed as a party. Anybody could sign that and you can't call them a party.
But if the tax assessment office is willing to accept it as drafted and it accomplishes the purpose in the spirit of the agreement, the real issue is when the assessment should be changed. I mean, if you're telling me, Chris, that the tax assessment office will take it the way it's been amended by adding Hamilton and that suffices with them, then the only other open issue is when the assessment should be changed. But to me, that's the only open issue.
It's not an intermunicipal agreement if Hamilton's not a party.
Hamilton has expressed they will sign it the moment they see your signature on it.
Then why can't we just amend it to add them as a party?
So the
on
one,
top paragraph and let them sign it?
I will be happy to put them on the top of it.
Put them at the top, and are we going to change it to a CO?
That's, yeah, again, we don't have a dog in that fight. It makes no difference to the property developer whatsoever. The reason it's based upon issuance of a permit is because that's what the assessment office told us to do.
But that's not the mansion rule. So the mansion rule says the building has to be there.
Can we do this?
How in the world? Okay.
Chris, can we do this? To get this, it's save your fingers from emailing me daily. If the board would agree that if it is amended to include Hanover as a part, Hamilton Township as a party, and if you change upon the issuance of building permits, upon the issuance of a certificate of occupancy by Hamilton Township.
I can't tell you that because I don't know what the assessment office's position is on that.
What I was going to suggest to the board is that if we get those changes, that we authorize it, the signing of that agreement conditioned upon the changes the two changes I discussed. And as soon as you get it to me, I'll get it to the board to be signed and move on.
Can't we just drop the agreement? Why does Chris have to do it?
Because he has an old word and he can probably do it in about 2 minutes. Seriously, right?
Yeah, because we're the ones that want to get this project.
We want to get it done too. I mean, we're not.
You did. You approved this precisely in December and signed it. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I don't think we voted on it. It was tabled several times. But you were working with.
It was tabled, yeah, no, I agree. But is that something we can accomplish?
In December, Leo DeVito, this is from your minutes, Leo DeVito gave an overview of the dual brand hotel spanning 3 townships and its property taxes. Natasha Leap made a motion, seconded by Ellen Gannett, to enter into the agreement.
With Hamilton.
All in favor. Motion carried.
You missed with Hamilton Township. And we asked to enter into an agreement with Hamilton Township.
Hamilton Township.
And when they're a party and it's
Hamilton Township. It says on the one in your packet, Hamilton Township.
First, let's get it done. Leo,
I've been trying to get it done since October.
I understand. I do understand.
We don't have another month.
We're not asking for a month, we're asking for a day.
But what assurance do I have that I will have it tomorrow? That's my concern. I don't believe that I will have it tomorrow.
As soon as you get it to me, I have depositions at 10 o'clock. I'll be done by noon. As soon as you get it to me, if you get it to me before 10, I'll look at it. Assuming it has Hamilton as a party, references the certificate of occupancy, I'll get it out to Joe. He can call President Gannett to sign it. Sure, we'll witness it and then we'll email it to you. The best I can do. Okay.
So
You'll have it tomorrow. You get it to me, you'll have it tomorrow.
So Leo, the motion should just be stipulating the two change. I mean, how should the motion?
It will be a motion, there will be a motion to authorize the president of the board to sign the parcel designation agreement. Conditioned upon the incorporation of Hamilton Township as a party and conditioned upon that the taxes will be changed upon the issuance of a certificate of occupancy rather than issuance of building permits.
I'll make that motion. Jared, you got all that?
The recording does.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Discussion? Don't we have to rescind the other motion first? Because there was a motion to authorize to sign it, wasn't there? With a second, and that's what I was.
Sign it as is, yes, yeah.
Oh, we have to, okay.
You
Yeah,
can do that.
thank you.
Yes, you made the, Natasha, you made the motion?
I don't know if I made it or seconded it. I did one.
Matt made it and Natasha seconded it.
No, that's the current. We need to have them done for your motion. The original, I thought, I mean, you made that it was in the time, that was an
That
alternate.
was from December.
And wait,
Okay, well, that's what you said. We have to rescind.
on the table,
Whatever.
amend it. Yeah, amend it.
Yeah, amend the motion.
Amend the motion.
In order to properly, and I'll defer to the parliamentarian if I'm incorrect, but in order to properly rescind the motion, the maker of the motion must make a motion to rescind. The seconder has to agree to that rescission.
I'll make a motion to rescind.
I thought we were just gonna amend it.
Agree.
No, time out.
We did that part. We got it.
No, you didn't, because the motion was made by Natasha, seconded by Ellen in December of last year. You were not on the board at that point.
Wait,
There's an original motion out there to sign the agreement,
right.
which we did, but we pumped the brakes, so we didn't like the agreement. That, as Natasha correctly pointed out, that motion needs to be rescinded. In order to properly rescind that motion from December of 2025.
I wasn't talking about that motion. I was talking about the motion.
I wasn't.
Literally tonight. You did the motion to sign it as is. I seconded it, which opened it for discussion. And then Chris came up.
He's in.
Then there would have to be an amendment to the current motion.
So it's gonna fix all this.
There'll be an amendment to the current motion that says that the president is authorized to sign the agreement once Hamilton is added to the agreement as a party, and that the trigger is the issuance of certificate of occupancy. That would be the amended motion.
You accept that amendment?
I accept.
Accept the second amendment. Any further discussion? Public comment? Anybody online?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
So the December approval of the agreement, which has already been signed, has not been withdrawn, correct?
We didn't approve that.
Well, your
We-
minutes said that you did, so
we-
assuming your minutes are accurate, I'm correct that that hasn't been rescinded, correct?
What did you sign then?
What's that?
What did I sign? Didn't I sign
Oh,
something?
yes, you signed it. You signed it.
Okay, so what did I sign then?
We approved an agreement with Hamilton, and my thing is that was not an agreement with Hamilton. We did.
What's that? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize the solicitor to advertise the rezoning hearing from R1 to R2 for, this is MCTI, right?
Yes.
I'll second that.
That's already been advertised. It's scheduled for the second meeting in this month.
Yes, the 16th.
It's been out, it's been reviewed by the planning commissions, and it's on track for the second meeting. We don't need that motion.
And we did receive the county planning letter back as well. So you'll see that at the next meeting.
Well, do I need to rescind that? Are we good?
You withdraw the motion.
I withdraw the motion.
It's a second withdrawal.
I'll withdraw second. I'll make a motion to table the motion to authorize the solicitor to advertise our police cost recovery ordinance.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I thought you.
Okay, we've already discussed the social media that will be coming from Lisa. Leo, you're gonna check with her, right?
That's correct.
In the issuance of time, I'm gonna skip my next two things. And we'll move on to Matt.
All right, Jared, I just want to talk about how soon can we advertise the positions for the EAC, and then to the board, I ask how long do we want to leave it posted? Preferably, I would want to leave it up for the next few weeks, I would say, and then appoint people, not next meeting, but 2 meetings from now, so a month from now. Is everyone okay with that? Just because it's a new board, there's 5 positions. I don't want to just have it posted for 10 days or whatever. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we can get it advertised as soon as tomorrow.
Okay, so be advertised tomorrow for 3 weeks, and then we will bring everyone in who applied 2 meetings from now.
Yeah, so what we could do is we could set the interviews up for April 6th.
Perfect. And then I just want to say, can you also email the planning commission and just see if one or multiple of the planning commission members are interested? Sure. And then we'll go from there. If nobody is, then I guess we'll look at a 6th potential person, but hopefully at least one person is. And if multiple are, I guess they would come in with everyone else and go through the process. Sure. And I know you usually do, but I just want to make sure it's on social media and everything.
Yeah, we'll get on Facebook, Savvy Citizen, and our website. We'll post it on the bulletin board too.
All right, that's all I got, unless anyone on the board has any issue with any of that. I'm done.
Natasha? Mike?
Yeah. Don't forget, Saturday night, drop your clocks ahead 1 whole hour. And Sunday morning, make sure you check all your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms. Make sure that they're working. Make sure the batteries are fresh. And it usually helps to clean your dryer vents every 6 months. Just a little information for you. And in the words of Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Well, for those?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the eye rolls and groans.
Charles?
Yes, so I just have 2 things tonight. The first is a discussion on the library AED for TLC Park. I know Ellen had asked Leo to review that agreement to see. I mean, it just looks like they're saying they want to do a press event where, we shake hands and say thank you on camera, which I think is fair.
I'm here if you want me to speak at all about this, because it is a little bit more than that.
Oh. We also have Gary Hoffman online, the director of Monroe County 911.
Okay, fantastic. Well, hang on though.
It's an issue though. Yeah.
Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, yeah. I reviewed the agreement, but I received a call from Todd Reichsman, solicitor for Monroe County, expressing the concerns of the Monroe County 911 Center has with this agreement. It was discussed in Smithfield Township. And if I misspeak, please correct me. But as I understand it, obviously this is going to be a piece of equipment that's exposed 24/7 to the public. So there are certain requirements, or not requirements, but there are certain safety issues and non vandalism type issues with these. So one of the requirements is that, as I understand it, and as the agreement states, that one of the requirements is that the Monroe County 911 Center be contacted to get the code, to open the box, to get the device out of the box. And as I understand it, and again, I'll defer to Monroe County Control Center representative, but as I understand it, that adds a layer of potential liability that is not looked upon favorably by the county. In other words, there's an event or an incident at the park, You call 911, they have to give you a code, you enter the code, you open the box and use the equipment. The concern is, what if the code changes? What if the code doesn't work? Is the 911 center going to be looked at being a potential responsible party if the person who required the attention is unable to get the attention because of that situation? I think I stated that correctly, didn't I?
And would you like me to address any of that?
Madam President?
Is someone on from 911 that, are you confirming with 911?
Yeah, I'd ask if I correctly stated the 911 position.
Yeah, Mr. Altman's online.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. We addressed this. Smithfield Township brought this similar project to us. And after some extensive looking into and I'll just go back to the conversation you all had an hour or so ago about your excessive police call. I mean, the theory is this AED is locked in a box. If somebody needs AED, they call 911. We would have to give them a code. Our concern is if we give them the wrong code number, I mean, we're handling more than one phone call, but someone, and I see Chief Wagner there, someone could call us, tell us there's a cardiac event there. We give them the code and they steal the AED anyway. The other thing was if the device doesn't work, if the batteries are dead, it needs to be charged. And if it's just inoperative in general, as Solicitor DeVito said, we did look at this and responded to Smithfield. And I'll read you verbatim what our response was. And after careful review, the board concluded that the proposal, as currently structured, would create significant operational and liability exposure for the control center and its staff. For that reason, the board has decided that the control center will not participate in the project in its present form. If the township considers an alternative approach that doesn't involve the control center in managing or controlling access to the device, we are willing to review that. Now, that being said, on a cardiac call, particularly like in a municipality that has police, like Pocono Township, you folks have your police officers. Do your police officers have AED in their cars?
You can answer that, Jim.
Yes, we do.
So what we would do is when we dispatch an ambulance, we would dispatch the police and the officer at the same time. And 90% of the time, and that's no exaggeration, the police officer is on site first. He is there or she is there first to attempt to mitigate the cardiac arrest. But right now, in that current configuration, I mean, I don't know if you have staff at the park during the day, they could have secured or whatever. But it just seems like a lot of liability from our perspective.
So, Jared, we have two AEDs that take TLC, TLC, I'm sorry, Mountain View Park, right?
Yeah.
So how are those ones? Do we have those keyed somehow?
The one at Mountain View Park, the exterior one, it's covered under the bathroom. So it's somewhat exposed to elements. It does have a audible alarm if you were to open the door. Nothing that reports or anything like that. The other one is inside the Heritage Center.
And we haven't had any theft issues, have we? I mean, presumably it's still there. I mean, my big concern is that, you know, we have a splash pad at this park, and those are, I mean, they're dangerous. You've got kids there. You know, I would want an AED on site. Anyone who has any training with AED, CPR knows that every second that goes by, waiting for a police officer to arrive with it in their car is, you know, another second of brain damage, another second of potential death. You know, I would like to see it available. And I mean, being offered one for free is, you know, an incredible opportunity for us. Is there a chance we can get in touch with this company and see, like, does it have to go through the 911 center? Could you set up a online?
I'm on the phone. I've been waiting for 3 hours to speak. Can I do that? Is that okay? And if you guys don't want it, you don't want it. But I would like to speak. I'm Jill. I'm a cardiac arrest survivor. I'm the founder of the Aliver Foundation. We started it in January 2024. I had cardiac arrest in a park I waited or my friends waited while I laid there dead and they did CPR for 15 minutes for an AED to actually get there. We are based out of New Jersey. We've placed more than 140 of these since January 2024 in outdoor public recreation spaces. We're currently working in 11 states. The distributor in the United States has placed 3,000 of these. Maybe 80 of them are not locked. They primarily work with counties and municipalities. Pennsylvania is one of our expansion areas. We're a registered charity there. Our program is called Bryson's Bundles in memory of 10-year-old Bryson Funk, whose name you might remember from the summer. He died of cardiac arrest, and we're trying to ensure his legacy of kindness, compassion, and community lives on across Pennsylvania. We recently added Smithfield as a community partner and donate equipment to Minnesink Park. We have 19 Pennsylvania parks so far with community partnerships. The city of Pittsburgh, who y'all can call their OEM, and their 911 dispatch. Allegheny County, same deal. And we're talking about counties who obviously are bigger. Dauphin County, their OEM person and their 911 communication center is more than happy to speak with anybody, as well as various townships and cities in Pennsylvania and beyond, as well as Union County in New Jersey, which is the county where I had my cardiac arrest. They actually purchased 80 of these, 80, for their 36 county managed parks through a federal grant. But, you know, when we're talking about this, I can tell you the code doesn't change. What I can tell everyone who's listening to this as well, which I probably shouldn't do, is the code is the same for every one of these enclosures in the United States of America. The CTEC 4000 outdoor AED enclosure is hardwired, so it is going to keep your AED pads and batteries of that AED inside it, which we would also donate. It's going to keep it safe 24/7. Basically, you know, the liability, what we've heard from all of these different places that we work with, really actually falls when you don't have an AED that is available, when you have a long response time and there is no intervention in between. So this forces you to call 911, which is going to put that person on the other end who's hopefully going to try to keep you calm, who's going to say, you know, do you know how to do compressions? If the answer is no, or even if the answer is yes, they're going to remind you, they're going to tell you how to do that, because we know that CPR is more effective, you know, in terms of keeping somebody's blood flow. We also know that an AED is not going to shock you unless it detects a shockable rhythm. And a lot of rhythms actually aren't shockable. So this kind of force stops you to call 911, because what we also know is a lot of times people forget to call 911. So this model actually does come. It's the best one that is in the United States of America, if not the world. It has an IP rating of 66, and it does come in unlocked. But the reason that we push for locked is because I had 3. My middle one wasn't shockable. And if 911 wasn't called, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. So, you know, the keypad is actually not electric. So even if, you know, the power's out, whatever it is, that keypad is still going to work. I would hope that your dispatcher would not, you know, give out the wrong 4 numbers, because you would also hope that the dispatcher wouldn't give out the wrong address in CAD to, you know, whoever those responders are. What we also do is, you know, we advise the first responders in town to also be notified of that code, so that that's a secondary, you know, that it's in the fire trucks, it's in the police cars, or what have you. We also, you know, in the MOU that you have, we talk about, you know, the monthly checks. Just put it on whoever your parks person is that's checking that park regularly, or, you know, throwing out the garbage or whatever. And just make sure, you know, that the AED works. The enclosure is always going to work. But, you know, that's part of having a park system. That's part of having any sort of emergency system, is having those checks in place. So basically we, you know, ask in that MOU that you register it with PulsePoint, which takes 2 seconds, that you let the 911 system, you know, and it goes into CAD. We've never had a problem with any of these places that we've worked with in terms of their 911 system. A lot of them are county managing town or state managing town, and managing multiples. And like Gareth at Union County in New Jersey, that's has 80 of them. They're all the same code, so it's not a problem. He was like, oh my goodness, what if they're not the same code? But they are. And then it's just we're donating the equipment, and then we want to do a community event. And the reason that we do these community events is they're 1 hour long, and we really want to get the residents out. We don't really want it to be just a photo op with government officials, politicians, whatever you guys call yourself in your community. We want people to come out. We want kids to come out. We would love it if there is a touch a truck where fire trucks and police cars and ambulances come out, because what is a myth is that kids love the firemen and they love the fire trucks, because once those horns are honking and once there's an emergency situation, it is terrifying for kids. So if this kind of event can make it a little less terrifying, we have children's activities where the kids can make a stethoscope, they can color in a page that says call 911 and the helpers will come. I recently just published a kids book for kids ages 4 through 8, really talking about how to have a healthy heart and calling 911 and the helpers and all of that. And so we're incorporating that into these events as well. But the one thing that we do in this is what is in this MOU is we have one of your local first responders who is a trained CPR instructor to come and do an interactive CPR and AED demonstration for the adults. For the kids, all we want them to do is know to call 911. So, this is really, I actually spend summers there on River Road and utilize your park. We utilize your dog park. My dog is sitting back here. If you saw her jumping around before, we have the little key fob. And, I'm basically there from May through September. And so obviously this is important to me. I don't need an AED. I have a defibrillator in my body. It's everybody else that does. And, I'm just concerned with parks that don't have this type of equipment that is protected from the elements and that does force you to call 911. I know that listening that is, an issue where you are, but, and saying, well, if somebody steals the AED, if somebody goes to all that trouble, let them have it. At the end of the day, if that's what you're worried about, I would be more worried about the amount of people who have cardiac issues since the pandemic. The amount of obesity, the amount of, heart disease that we have. I'd be more concerned with that, and the people that are using your parks. I would be more concerned about, kids. We know that young athletes, cardiac arrest is the #1 cause of death in young athletes. That's what I would be concerned about. I think you can find liability issues with anything, but I think when you talk about being proactive and, as first responders, I don't know if you guys are volunteer paid, whatever combination, but, as first responders, any intervention that you can put in place for bystanders, that's something you really should think about doing. And at the end of the day, my foundation runs on like $50,000 a year. It's all volunteer. So if you guys don't want it, just let us know, because there are plenty of communities that do, that we're holding off on right now, waiting for this meeting. So, every dollar we bring in goes to this equipment. Every administrative cost we have, like our website and stuff, I pay for out of my pocket. Tonight, like I work full time. Tonight, I've been sitting here since 6 o'clock on this call, listening to what's going on in your town, because this is important. So if you don't want it, that's fine. But if I can answer any questions, or if I can put you in touch with AED team or any of these other communities, either their parks department, their administration, or their office of OEM or 911 dispatch centers, I'm more than happy to do that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So I don't know, I didn't have a motion on the agenda here. I don't really have any questions for her. I'm in favor of moving ahead with this. I don't know if we need a motion to do that, if this is something we need to vote on, or If it's just, direction we give to the township manager to do something with it, but I mean.
Well, I have.
Leo, I'm curious what Leo thinks to that. Do we need a motion?
I mean, I want to point out that in review of the agreement, there is obviously, and rightfully so, the waiver of liability from the Oliver Foundation, which is not unusual in a situation like this. I mean, they're doing a good Samaritan type of deed. I would just like to, the portion of the board, just hear if George has the county dispatch as Gary has any other comments based on the presentation made by Joe.
I mean, the only comment I have is right now our position is that we're not going to accept it. However, if Attorney DeVito wants to contact our solicitor, we talked about a hold harmless, but our solicitor felt at the time that it would not be broad enough to cover the several issues I brought up. But I mean, they can talk. That doesn't hurt.
Gary, what are you doing with Smithfield? Because I know that Smithfield has the equipment and they're proceeding with it. So how did they kind of navigate this? I think that might be helpful.
Well, I don't know whether they got the machine or not, but we denied their request to have the, maintain the information on the AED at the center.
Oh, because they do have the equipment. So that's interesting to know, because then they're technically in violation of their MOU.
Right. So the agreement would have to be changed if that were the case.
I think what they had mentioned was that they had to write something to you saying that the liability was on them, but I'm not aware that you guys do not have it in your CAD system, because that's, I'm going to take the equipment back if that's the case.
We have the park, we have all the parks. We have the whole county in our CAD system. However, we did not accept the responsibility to put in the AED code or accept that mechanism in its current form. I don't know if there are other options, but that's where Smithfield stands right now with us.
Okay.
I would like to see these proliferate, within the county. I think, especially if it's one code that's used nationwide, it's a universal code. It seems like we should be. It seems like this is something that our 911 service should be looking into, because this seems like a great thing to roll out. As far as additional liability, it's just additional training. It's the same code nationwide. It's one code. How many digits is it? Like 4 digits?
Yeah.
It's not like. I don't think it's unreasonable to be asking the 911 service to do this. I don't know what power Pocono Township has here to get them to, but I would like to say, as a commissioner here, I have extreme interest in getting this, and it sounds like Smithfield also does. So, I think that this is something that the 911 service should definitely look into, because I hate to see Smithfield lose theirs and Pocono Township lose this opportunity because they're worried about a 4-digit code.
Yeah, and they, like what I've been told, and again, I don't get into the nitty-gritty of this. I know that, Jeff Enders from Dauphin County is happy to speak to anybody who wants to, as well as some of our other people, but, that it goes in similarly to a building code and that it's no big deal at all. So I'm assuming the liability is what is holding you back from doing that. But it's obviously problematic, because if they have this installed, right, and I know that we had weather too. But if they have this installed and somebody calls 911 and 911 does not give them a code, then that's a problem, because now you're going to have a dead person.
Commissioner Keller, if I could, I do believe that the middle ground would just be an audible cabin, kind of like the cabin over there. If somebody should pop that open, it's going to ring an alarm. We have a lot of cameras at TLC Park. For it to be hardwired in, it would be limited on where we could put it. It would have to probably go on the silver panel box in between the splash pad and the dog park, or close to the filters for the splash pad. But it is a possibility if you don't want to consider a code.
I mean, my question then would be, would that be acceptable for your foundation? Because it sounded like the 911 call was really important to you. I know most AEDs, at least ones I've used, they tell you to call 911. So, I don't know how the ones that you use work, but usually I think they give you that instruction explicitly to call 911. But, I would defer to you on that. You're the expert.
Yeah, we will not donate. You can obviously purchase. The bundles are like $2,500 each. The enclosures are $1,195, but we would not donate an unlocked enclosure. It does come unlocked though, if that's something that you want to invest in.
Thank you. We don't have it on here as a motion. Clearly it would have to be, right, Leo?
Yes, it would have to be a motion. But we have a rock in the hard spot.
Well,
If the county dispatch will not give the code, I understand from Jill, and rightfully so, I understand because that's part of the protocols, then we wouldn't be entitled to one.
Right, and that's sadly, I guess that's where we're at.
That's the rock in the hard spot we find ourselves in, yes.
We appreciate your offer. We didn't know.
Anybody would like to make a donation to the foundation, because I've been here now for 2 hours and 46 minutes. It's thealiverfoundation.com. I'm hanging up now. If anything changes, let me know. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Kepler, we do utilize the Moyer Foundation for our AEDs currently. So if that would be something you want to pursue, that's an option as well.
I absolutely want to get one for TLC Park. I think
that doesn't require a contract like this one.
No.
Required. So it is something we do, and then we, by utilizing St. Luke's EMS, they're responsible for updating the pads and changing the batteries out when they fail.
All right. Well, we can talk about that more in the future then.
Sure.
Thank you. The second thing I had on my agenda for this evening is the Parks Committee. I just wanted to get a little clarity. Jen's here tonight. I know that she was responsible for it. I had a member of the park board reach out to me. They're really interested in getting it going again. I've been reading through a lot of park related stuff for the township, and I found the park board reference all over the place. I mean, on the website it says that they reserve the right to approve or deny or amend proposals for open to the public events parks. They also are responsible for when it comes to open space. Any proposals for open space, the installation of recreation areas, that's supposed to come before the park committee for review, and the fees as well. It's supposed to come before the park committee for review. So I'd really like to.
So,
please, thank you.
Yeah, I was listening to the last meeting, and as Ellen mentioned at the last meeting, we had not held any official park board meetings as of yet. I did meet with the park board. I walked them through all the parks. I took them to Glenwood Hall to see what was going on there for future projects. I invited them to assist at events. They also sat in on a meeting of the locker company we were originally looking into, went fine. However, I never got clear direction or expectations of what was expected of the board. So I couldn't really move forward with meetings. I did reach out to the park board members today, and I'm just waiting to hear back from one because I would like to be able to move forward with the meetings. And most of the people could agree on the first Wednesday of the month at 5:30. But like I said, I'm just waiting for one more. So we'd be able to get that approved by you guys to put up a motion together. I'm hoping to have it together by the next meeting. But I guess what I'm asking from the board is maybe a little bit more clear direction. I wasn't at the initial meeting when the park board was established. So I'm looking for some guidance, and then I have no problem at making the meetings happen.
We do have to advertise, so we haven't done that, so we really couldn't expect a meeting to happen because we didn't advertise anything yet. But can you just say that again? What Wednesday are you thinking?
We're looking at the first Wednesday of the month at 5:30. That seems to work with the majority. I'm just waiting to hear back from one more person.
Okay, so
the next meeting we would.
Do we need a motion to do that, or can we just direct Jared once Jennifer finds out to advertise that meeting?
I would do for record purposes a motion to authorize the township manager to advertise for the park board meetings once a month, I think, Jen, right?
Yeah, it's once a month. That's what it says in the bylaws, once a month.
It's It's not on our agenda, so
Do we want to wait till the next meeting because we're waiting for that person to get back to you anyway to make sure that
Yeah,
time.
for you guys to make the motion, yeah.
So maybe we'll hold off on making a motion that's not on the agenda anyway. This is just a discussion. Kick that to the next meeting. You'll get your confirmation. And I'd like to look through our code because these are just two things I was looking at: the open space and the park specifically. Looking for reference to the park board, and I found it in two places that they're supposed to be doing stuff. I'd like to comb through the code a little more, see what else.
is that our ordinance?
Yes, this is the open
So
space
that
ordinance.
actually applies to the old park board also.
That's what I'm
Anyone
wondering.
might be familiar with.
Right, because I have I did print out the bylaws here and I was looking through them and I didn't see that.
Yeah, so
Like I said, guide me, I will do whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look through our code. I'm gonna find any references to the Parks and Recreation Committee, see what we have in the code that you guys are supposed to be reviewing. And then we can put together a little list of the stuff that, should be followed to you guys. And then we can make sure that Jared is, recognizing that stuff and pushing it your way. And we can hopefully get this rolling.
I would love to, yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, at least the person I spoke to, they were very enthusiastic about trying to make our parks better. And I hate to see volunteers coming here, especially when we're talking about adding positions. I want to make sure that people who are volunteering their time actually are getting the opportunity to do what they want to do and, make the township a better place.
I agree.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Zoning?
So this month we had 13 permits issued, 5 for zoning. Most of them were commercial properties. There's one new home that was built, or one new home that was permitted. 5 building permits, 4 for commercial, 4 certificate of occupancies, no TDU permits issued. We did issue 5 TDU NOVs this period. There were no clues violations. We had one hearing, 175 Laurel Lake. That was the Court of Common Pleas. The violations were upheld. It was an appeal. The judge did reduce the fines on that though. And then we will have a upcoming zoning hearing board for 2185 Route 611. That date hasn't been set yet. And then 383 is the kind of lingering hearing. If there's any questions.
Just on the TDUs, were they commercial or were they in residential zones?
There was a mix of it. There were 5, actually there were 6 TDUs. 2 of them were for districts not permitted, and then the other 4 were they just didn't obtain a license.
So how long do they have to answer the?
So the typical, once the notice is sent, they have 30 days to either come into compliance or start working to come compliance. If they reach out to us and request what they need, we'll walk them through it, kind of avoid kind of court hearings, things like that.
So for the ones that are residential that they're not allowed to have, they get 30 days to continue to rent, or how do we?
So the ordinance, or excuse me, the notice says that they have to reach out within 5 days. If they don't reach out in that 5 days, the only kind of thing we can do is wait that 30 days to file with the district magistrate.
Okay.
Generally, we get some type of contact back. Either they remove the listing, they apply for permits, things of that nature.
Okay. And they're 30 days, the end of March or somewhere there's about?
They weren't all issued on the same day, so I would have to see exactly where that 30 days. We have a system set up.
Since our last meeting, they
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anybody have anything else? Paul? Jim, you're for the second meeting, yeah? Is there a fire report?
It will be in April, first meeting of April.
Okay. Jen.
Thank you. Just a couple quick things. We have a first movie coming up on March 21st. We will be playing Zootopia 2 at 5 p.m. in here. And then we are also partnering again with the Monroe County Children and Youth for the Community Egg Hunt. That is March 29th from 12 to 3 down at the Fireman's Field off of Alger. And the last thing I have is our sponsorship funds right now are at $23,850, and we do still have some money promised to come in. That's all I have.
Very nice. Thank you. Anybody have anything for Jen? Thank you. Okay, Jared.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, every year PennDOT does road studies, road counts on our personal road or privately owned roads to go over where they plan on paving for the next year. So they will be deploying the counting machines. It's either the tubes across the road or an odd pole taped to a pole. But just in case anybody wonders what they are traffic counters. They plan to place this year on Fish Hill, Bullpine, Buck, Terrace, Municipal Lane, Dory's Way, Fish Hill, Sunset, Twin Oak, Tara Hill, Wild Cherry, and Middle. Also, we did receive the drawings last week for the police wing update. We did have a initial meeting on Thursday to go over some cost savings and options. So Pat, Jim, Mitch, and I are going over the trades one by one and looking at cost saving opportunities. We do have our cost breakout from the architect as far as should we contract the whole thing out. Obviously, we're looking for ways to save the taxpayers money on that. And we should have something over the next 2 or 3 weeks broken down trade by trade.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, for year-end recycling update, Pocono Township actually did much better than the prior year with overall recycling, everything from electronics to paper, batteries. Overall, 79,032 cubic yards of waste was able to be recycled here in Pocono Township. That is up just about 20,000 cubic yards from 2024. And barring other questions, that's all I have, Madam President.
I just have one. The MyoVision systems, what's the timeline on receiving and implementing those?
If you don't know, I know he just told me Friday at 4:48. Looking at approximately 3 months from by the time it gets installed in full adaptation through PennDOT. Generally, the state is the final stitch, so it takes a little longer.
Okay, so middle of the year, they should be all up and running.
Yeah, we should see them pop up over the next month and a half, and then just to tie in with Traffic Signal Products, they're the ones who does the marriage between PennDOT Server Farm and we use Signal Service. But we, knock on wood, before school gets out, hopefully we should be fully adapted to slowly help. Again, this is only 3, but this gets us one step closer to full adaptation and hopefully help the summer traffic a wee bit better.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody have anything else for Jared? Pat?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I just have a few items. Later this week, Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be attending disaster management for wastewater and water utilities course that's offered by the county. And joining me will be Jim, Mitch, John, and John to receive that training as well. The 611 corridor study, they are moving forward with the next phase. They've asked for another public presentation on April 14th and asked if they could host it here at the township. They were very appreciative of our accommodating them. So I'd like to be able to offer the building to them at 5:30, I believe, is the time that they want to get started, same time as last time. So, and they, again, have expressed their thanks to Pocono Township for accommodating them. I got another contact from a different engineer regarding the Staten Road Bridge, just asking for an update and I know John's working on that, the maintenance items that we need to do to the undermining of the bridge. Just wanted to remind the board of that. And then finally, as you know, parks are scheduled to open in April. I know a bunch of candidates have been interviewed. It looks like we're going to be ready to go for another park season if the snow ever stops. I've been watching my phone, and it looks like they're having some school closures already for weather tomorrow. So everybody be careful traveling tomorrow, because it looks like we're getting more. So, but spring is coming.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Thank you, Pat. Anybody have anything else for Pat?
You're welcome.
John?
Thank you, Ellen. I have two things. First is Court 5 update. I think you all know that I attended a meeting. Pat and I both attended a meeting. Can you sing the microphone up, please? Sorry about that. Pat and I both attended a meeting on Wednesday at Court 5 regarding blasting procedures, blasting requirements, blasting notification. I did circulate a memo of what transpired at that meeting. I don't know if you want me to go into any detail or if you have any questions regarding that memo. I'm happy to do whatever you would like regarding that.
Can that memo be shared with the public?
Fine with me.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to put it on the website, if that's how you want to share it, or you want me to read it, or what?
You need to read it.
Yeah, I didn't think.
But if you want to put it on the website so people know, I mean, but if it says people's names, I would redact.
We would take the PI. Yeah. There's no names. Matter of fact, DEP would not share names with me.
Okay.
And if I put a name in here, yes, that should be redacted.
So I had one resident reach out to me, and this is kind of for John, kind of for the board. One resident who's affected by the Core 5 blasting and the trees that have been taken down. One actually said that they left a few trees, but it looks terrible now. And they're asking if the township, I guess, would be interested in removing the trees that are remaining. I don't know if the board is interested in that. But that's one thing a resident asked me, because they just said it looks bad. And then another resident asked if about a barrier wall, and they were basically told that, again, that would fall to the township if interested in constructing a barrier wall, essentially. So, you know, A, is the board interested in either or both of those things? And then B, if we are, you know, I guess I would defer to John on, you know, if that's even possible with the barrier wall and how we would go about that. But I'm just curious what the board thinks about those two things, because I promised the residents I would bring it up.
May I ask a question, Madam President? Matt, are the proposed tree cutting and the wall, whose property are they located on?
I don't know if I should say or
No. What I mean is, is the request to take down trees on 4 or 5 property or on neighbor's property and put a wall on neighbor's property? Because there's a difference. Obviously, if you want to go on to 4 or 5, you need their permission to remove the trees. You need the permission to construct a wall. That's my only question.
So on the trees, I'm not entirely sure. I think there's 3 trees left that they say it just looks bad now. I'm not sure if they're on theirs or Court 5's. I will find out and we can revisit that. For the barrier wall, you know, I guess assuming that Court 5 is not going to, and my understanding is they're not going to currently on their own property. I guess the barrier wall issue would be something that, you know, would have to be done on the resident's property with the, you know, support of the township.
Okay, thank you.
John, isn't there a screening?
There is buffering required, and I don't know where this particular property is, so I don't know what the buffering requirements are there.
Kevin's way.
Yeah, there is landscaping and buffering along the rear property line of the people along Kevin's Way.
The plan, but physically there, but it's on the plan that to put something in.
Yes, and that won't go in until the end. I mean, they've got to do all the grading first, get everything stabilized. Last thing they ever do on a project like this is If the wall is required, just put the wall in and then landscaping.
But they do have some kind of screening
Yes.
in their plan. Do we know what that is or?
Without looking, I don't
Okay.
remember.
But
I
we
can,
do-
I can
there
get it
is a
to you, Matt, if that would help, if you want to get back.
That's fine. I believe the one resident is concerned about wind, noise, etc. So yeah, I'm happy to get the addresses to you and we can revisit as board. But I was just curious, if that's something the board wants to continue exploring, I guess.
I think they have to do it. I think,
Yeah,
and I think they are gonna do it. I mean,
Yeah, I will circle that area on the plan and talk.
Okay.
If there's no other questions on 4.5, the other thing I want to bring up is the TLC Park pedestrian bridge. Last meeting, you authorized the purchase of the bridge for $116,000. That was a quote I had. That was an old quote. It's going up by $800. I don't think that's a big deal, but I think the bigger deal is that was just to purchase the bridge. I have since received the cost to purchase the bridge, ship it, and erect it. I do have a cost for that. And I've got a firm quote. It's $158,000, which is in budget. It is CoStarz, and it does include prevailing wage, which is required by the grant. So I will circulate that quote between now and the next meeting. And next meeting, I'll be looking for a motion to.
is that in addition to the 116 or instead of?
Oh, instead of.
Okay.
So it's a more formal quote. It includes more information or more work. And it is CoStarz, but it does. And I had a discussion with our grant writers. They wanted to make sure that we had prevailing wages in that quote, which we do. So everything should be good to go. Thank you. And that's all that I have, unless there's any questions.
Thanks, John. Have anything for John? Thank you, John.
You got. Thank you, Ellen.
For next meeting.
Thank you, Ellen. One report on Sylvan Cascade Road. I had a nice conversation with John Provoznik, explained to him the township's position, received a response to which I responded, but received a response wanting to make sure that the initial payment that was made was not intended to be tendered as payment in full, but rather a good faith payment on our estimate of what the cost or what the section of Sylvan Cascade Road that was repaved by Paradise Township was located within Pocono Township. In addition, John did indicate that he had received the records from court in the early 1970s. He indicated he'd be getting that over to me via separate correspondence. I have not yet received that. I apologize. We've been busy this last couple of weeks. I just haven't gotten to the leaf recycling update. I have the grant documents. I just haven't had the opportunity to look at them yet.
Okay.
And then finally, I would like to go back into executive session, Madam President, with the board's approval to finish a conversation that we started earlier. We would not be coming out to take any further votes. Unless there's any questions at this point. That's all that I have this
Does
evening.
anybody have anything for Leo? Can I make a motion that we adjourn into executive session to discuss litigation?
Litigation, correct.
And we won't be returning. Thank you.
Second, your motion.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.